Hey, T-Sippers. Hey, hey. Oh, you done got yourself in a whole heap of trouble. Hey, T-Sippers. Hey, T-Sippers. Come on in, please. How we doing? Let's go, T-Sippers. Hey. Hey, Willie Spencer. How we doing? How we doing? Ooh. I've been a little bothered today, y'all. With everything that's going on. And baby, the way they playing ball. Oh my goodness, baby girl. The way they playing ball, I just, I don't know if I took a lot of things for granted previously, or just wasn't as alert as I thought I was, or maybe some of this stuff that we are experiencing now, it just never presented itself the way it's presenting itself now. And coming off of Diddy and watching how that unfolded, and I'm watching with my good eye, right? I had to let me pat me some vitamin C, and I got my little strips. I said I need to be able to see with my good eye, because they trying to pull the wool over our eye. And then I said, oh no, because it's just ball. They just gonna play in our face. They think we so naive that they can play in our face. See, I have learned that I am probably so watchful and so, hey, Crystal, and so detailed because of how people, do that old bait and switch stuff. And so I found myself some years ago just sitting back and watching. So when you ain't paying attention and you ain't focused, they can switch that shit up right up in your face, and you can be watching it and you be like, I know I didn't just see what I thought I saw. Yeah. So when I experienced that before, it has left me being really, really attentive on things. And that's why I don't deviate from what I know is fact. That's why you can't just drop anything on me and I grab it and run with it. Now, dude, for y'all who was here last night, do y'all know that Jimmy the Cricket, or whatever his name, he's still trying to, y'all excuse me, I told you I was getting a little sick yesterday. So if my voice is cracky, that's sinus. So, you know, I don't know if it's the rain or whatever's in the air, but, you know, something's going on. But anyway, I can't think of what his name is. Crockett. Hell, I done named him again. He done went to some other uploads, some baby, and he hot, and he's still trying to press the issue. It's like, you gotta be new. If you think that you just gonna come in, drop somebody's name, and I'm gonna deviate and just go, and I kept saying, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? Because see, I started thinking that that person is a diversion, right? To try to take me off of what I'm talking about. Because what I'm talking about has meaning. Baby, Jimmy Crack Corn done went over to a couple of other ones and hit dog holler. Dude, what hit dog? What? What does a hit dog have to do? Here we go again. What hit dog? What does that have to do with me? That had nothing to do with me. But this is why I don't allow people to put that fake narrative, fake propaganda stuff over here. I don't even want it. I don't want not one of my tea sippers, regulars or guests, to say they got that fake shit over here. Very protective about the truth. Y'all ain't figured that out yet. And if we hadn't quite got to the truth, I'm very protective of what we know is fact. So don't come in here sprinkling some old crumbs that I ain't researched, I haven't brought up, because I ain't concerned. Get that? So you can stop going over, stop responding, stop all of that. I'm going to pull it up in a minute to put your name out there. I done made you a Hefner. You so damn concerned about Hugh Hefner. He got to be your daddy. You just found out your mama was fooling around in the Playboy Mansion or something. I don't know. But I done called you Ricky, whatever your name is, Crockett Hefner. You need to do your own research on your daddy. I'm not ancestry. Okay. So you welcome, precious. Don't come over here with all that other stuff. I'm not talking about that. But y'all, that's why I'm very protective of facts, or as close to the facts that we know. I don't need no fake propaganda. I don't need nobody dropping something else in the comment that I'm not talking about. Don't bring somebody else's narrative from over there, over here. I don't want it. Do I need to say it again? For the people in the back. Hey y'all, do I need to do a kite? Do I need to do a jail kite, prison toilet bowl kite? Hello. Y'all know I ain't no good. Don't bring it over here. See now, I gotta call you out, cause you tried to, on the cool, since I blocked you. Well, if I blocked you, how are you able to leave me the messages over in them other sectors? I told you to come back another day, is what I said. See how you change? See how you change? I didn't say I blocked you. I said come back another day and come correct. I was not talking about Hugh Hefner. And then you dropped the name, and the name still did not clarify what I asked you. When I asked you a question and you ignored it and said something else, what was I supposed to do? Sir, Mr. Hefner. Yeah, I'm starting out checking you right off the bat because you in my comments on other posts. So I'm going to do you one better. Okay? Do your own research. And if you want people to talk about that, start your own live. Do your own upload. Spread the word. Okay? Don't come using me and the tea sippers to present fake narratives. And that name you gave was it's not the same. It's not the same. We right now are talking about people who were trafficked. People who was yeah, I'm just gonna say trafficked. That's what we're talking about right now. So what these people have brought upon, I said, civil lawsuits, right? Because they were trafficked. And again, I say, what does that person have to do with what we was talking about? Nothing. You just want to be seen. Okay. So, listen, let me move on. I don't know why people come over here and try to make me talk about what they want me to talk about to my people. That ain't gonna ever work. But anyway, listen. I don't know if I want to say my feelings have been disturbed. I'm going to say disturbed. Y'all hit the like button. I keep looking up here to see if them lights go up before I start playing what I need to play. Because, oh boy, he brought this to the forefront. Them people voted for him. A lot of them people voted for him based on what he said when he was running that he was going to do. And he ain't done none of it. Everything he said he wasn't going to do, he's done it. And what he said he was going to do, he haven't. So now they feelings hurt. I was going to say my feelings hurt, but now they feelings hurt. I'm just disappointed. And I'm disappointed because of the cover up and the shake up and the payoff and the trying to think of a good word. Can't think of a good word I want to use of how they threw the case with Diddy. Because I don't care what none of y'all say. Epstein, Weinstein, Diddy, judgments were the same. Which leads me to believe that they gatekeeper is the same. And if y'all remember last night, I said, I wonder did Diddy give a Trump, name Trump, mention Trump. Was Trump on something that they found? When somebody asked, would he pardon Diddy? And then that became a whole little narrative. And when that known informant got on that witness stand, and then all of a sudden, Diddy wasn't in the courtroom when he went in and was about to plead the fifth and then took that deal. See, who was about to get on the plane. Now, where he was going, we don't know. We don't know. But what we, the tea sippers, know is, hey, Bernice, what we do know is that Diddy tied to the cartel. The Sinaloa cartel. And they got busted in Texas. I think they taking plea deals. They are informants now. That's just how deep this stuff is, y'all. I need for y'all to stay with me. The cartel is giving up names over here in the U.S. They were huge, not only in drugs and laundering and guns and stuff and human trafficking. So the names that the feds would want wouldn't have nothing to do with Medico, but it'll have everything to do with the U.S. And a whole bunch of things done happen. See, that's why yesterday I had YOUNGDOLPH Hernandez Govan, the mastermind who is tied to all of that. Hey, Ivan. To bring it closer to the dot we need, and we're going to park it. Okay? Because Diddy is most definitely connected to that organized crime. Now, I do not know what business he messed up. With the Sinaloa cartel. I mean, you know, really. What all we really know is that it was illegal and it was thrown out. I don't know what made him think he could sue Diddy for making them lose money in the U.S. that was illegally obtained, or would have been illegal. And that was gonna fly. Well, I'm sure he said, well, hell, y'all do it all the time. Y'all just don't know it. Did y'all catch that? Anybody out there play softball, baseball? Did you catch that? Ooh. Yeah. Throw that back. Did you catch that? They do it all the time. So hell, what would make us think that y'all don't? Hey, the voice. Can I have your voice? Because I'm losing mine. Did you caught it? Shit, y'all do that shit all the time. What you talking about? So, in the midst of, a dirty diaper bringing this up to win this presidential this last time, who's also trying to get the Supreme Court to allow him to have a third term. Can you believe that? Although it's not constitutional. But hell, he breaking the Constitution. He played in our face. He ain't playing mine. He really played in y'all's. See. So earlier today, I was talking to one of my older sisters. And I was telling her how just so disappointed I am with not just the people who voted for him, but the people that are a minority who voted for him. So disappointed. Cause all the excuses that people would say, oh, he break rules, or he gave us money. He the only president that gave us money. What else? They better than the Democrats. They ain't never done nothing for us. All of that. Now the ones who was getting government assistance, give me that. The one who has elderly family members, give me that. Some people are milking it, I get it. But the ones who really need assistance, education, give me that. And how dare you think that he was for you in any way? Your tax bracket, middle class, below, mid, upper, your pay grade ain't high enough for anything that he had plans to do for you to benefit from it. And even if you did, what about your mama and them? What about your family and them? What about your church member and them? What about, you get where I'm going with that? What about that? Oh, you don't care nothing about that. Okay. So what y'all gonna do in a minute if they don't get his ass up out of here? When he start telling y'all to get that mark, that either if you for him, cause you know he don't like rejection, he don't like to be told no. He Diddy, baby. When he tell y'all gonna have to stamp yourself, and if you don't have that stamp, the military, the armed forces gonna take you off. What we gonna do? Oh, y'all ain't think about that. I heard some people say, oh, they Iran and Israel, that's biblical. So is the mark of the beast. So is the dictatorship. Oh, you don't want to talk about that? I'm taking you where that ain't what you was talking about. That ain't what you meant. Y'all don't see where we going? That's Hitler. That's Hitler. That's a modern day Hitler. He wants to be in total control of everything, whether he right or wrong. Why? I kept telling y'all he's a convicted felon. I heard somebody say yesterday, a lot of people are so, I don't know what word they use, but I don't want to offend no more than I have already. But they was trying to say people don't research, they just whatever somebody tell them, they gonna take it and run with it. And so they were saying that a lot of people don't even know he is a convicted felon 38 or 33 times over. And I said to myself, that lady ain't lying. And the guy said, well, they probably don't care. Hey, Rodney, some people don't care, but majority of them don't even know it, that he's a convicted felon. He was convicted, I think she said 33 to 38 times. And she his kinfolk. And so what made you think that although you may be a felon and he a felon and y'all saying power to the felons, you ain't gonna get the privileges that he get? You still can't get no apartment unless you get a CPN. And guess what he gonna do to people who breaking the law? Right? Because they law and order, right? A convicted felon 33 to 38 times over is pushing law and order. How that? Huh? What? Where they do that at? Why is that okay? Y'all, why is that okay? So why are y'all supporting that somebody who is I mean, and I know some of y'all saying, well, hell, I'm a convicted felon. You can't vote. You can't get no job like that. Do y'all remember I asked y'all, have y'all campaigned on him lifting the limitations of convicted felons since he won? Since y'all think he do stuff for y'all? Since it's power to the felons. Have y'all campaigned to get your homie, Dirty Diaper, Donald, to lift them restrictions? Because he ain't gonna do it for you. He's not gonna do it for you. So, when I was listening last night, being just can't, you know, this is when I read in the word and said the renewing of the mind, we gotta change our mindset. And as I was about to go off into Lord, I mean, you know, this is gonna be a test of faith. Then I start remembering when I started saying, oh, we need, this is when he said, if my people who are called by my name, we got a problem. We got a problem. Turn from our wicked ways. Then he'll heal the land. We need a healing, people. And I ain't trying to be funny. AunTeaFee feeling very, 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 very serious. Now, we may get a little help because it's affecting them. It's affecting them. Now, they are feeling betrayed. It don't have nothing to do with us. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to step out on a limb and say this. If this shit wouldn't have been coming on Trump, you can best believe Diddy ass would have got hit with racketeering RICO. When them people was in there crying and shit, at the very last minute, they knew this was right there. They've been knowing this shit was coming since he jumped in and didn't get Congress permission to do that, to send the missiles over to Iran, start that war over there as a diversion. That's why I kept saying, well, not necessarily in unbeknownst to me, where I kept saying, he better leave Diddy where he at. He got his own shit coming. I mean, not knowing, you know, what was really coming. I knew he had that other lawsuit that he had lost, and the judge said that he wasn't protected by his position as president. I knew that. I knew he had his own shit coming, that you didn't want to be, have no favoritism. Hey, Grandma Way. Thank you. He didn't want to get caught up and look that funny to be trying to help Diddy when you got your own shit coming. They did it for Weinstein. Jewelry. They was having problems with the jewelry. One female. Y'all do the research. 2 weeks. Upper Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, up the street, down the street. It was going on while Diddy was on trial. It was a retrial. out for an appeal, and then they added another series. So he only got convicted, and then, yeah. I think one of them was a hung jury. He only got convicted of the lower charges. So it happened to Weinstein, Epstein, and Diddy. So then I had to start saying, so what does that do for the victims? And then you got people out there saying, why they didn't say something soon enough? Why they didn't, why it don't matter? Why were they aped? Why did somebody snatch them and take them? Why did somebody do this? Why did somebody... Don't ask the victim, why did it take them so long? Ask the predator, why are they sick? And did get a treatment for their sickness. Did he getting treatment now? He getting anger management. He getting what else? He getting drug. He getting it now. How you gonna get it in prison? How you gonna get it in jail? I know you're trying to set it up so when you go before the judge on the 3rd of October, you're gonna, some of his requirements, you're gonna say you've already completed them. So you can, get closer to time served or whatever. Paying the guards off. Cause right now where he at, he better do something. Cause word on the prison streets is they ain't as happy for Diddy as people want to act like he got that standing ovation. That ain't what they said. Everybody, he got more people against him in there than he got for him. And I don't know if for real he is a snitch, but his old bodyguards are keeping their word out there pretty tough. And they say some of them OGs say who they think that he done snitched on or he done told on or he done, yeah. So, they saying he may have a target on his back. Hell, and if people time is coming up short on surveillance and security guards who's supposed to be watching you ain't watching you, hell, and they saying that some of them unalive themselves and ain't nothing for you to put no weight on. I mean, it has to be something up there that's solid enough to hold your weight, right? I mean, right? I ain't never tried to take my life, but surely there has to be something, y'all get the lights up, something that has to be able to be strong enough, right, to hold your weight for a amount of time for it to cut off circulation. They said ain't nothing in there like that. And even if it's the top bunk, it's not high enough up for you to be off the ground like that. And if it's just the bunk, I mean, I'm sure it'll fall over, won't it? I'm just saying, y'all. So, Diddy ain't as protected and loved as y'all say he is. Try to act like he is. He got a target on his back. So that's why I remember hearing them saying that he'd rather go ahead and go on over to the federal because he'll be better off than where he at right now. So no, he did not get a standing ovation. He had a few brothers who clapped him, maybe. But they say he's sitting at a table with rats. And that ain't good for Diddy. So, as I was saying about the females and men, what do letting him off, Weinstein off, Epstein off, and now Trump? What does that do for the victims? So now it's up to victims all the way around the table. And they have a whole elaborate, I mean, we thinking, I don't know what we thinking. I guess we thinking, show no mercy. And I don't have to be. Let's be clear. I do not have to have been a victim to not ache for the victims. I don't have to know them. I can imagine. I have empathy enough to mourn on the inside for them. Because I can imagine how that feels. And then you trying to say one done took his life because you don't want to be exposed, because you thought it was going to make Bill Clinton look bad. You didn't realize how much Epstein had on you, dirty diaper. Was you getting plugged in? I mean, is your issues back there because of I ain't got no sense to it. Now that I'm thinking, was you being plugged back there? They were saying you was awfully close. Y'all was just like, woo. And you got more than some you anyway. So now you letting everybody free. There is no case. There is no nothing. There is no list. You lying. So now, this is the most disturbing part, y'all. So not only are you letting these people go, the one who was about to say, yeah, man, come on now, you know you on the list. You know, stop saying it ain't one. Stop that. Because we using your terminology. Right? Now ain't no list. They got a whole black book. Oh, girl was about to cut a deal to expose it. So now she has a chance to get a retrial or to be pardoned because he said it ain't no list. There was no body being, what's the word, blackmail. All of that was a lie. It was a hoax that the Democrats made up. Nobody else gonna be charged. Ain't nothing. Andrew, you can come on back. Ain't no ban on travel. Come on back. Yeah. You have you don't have to worry about your citizenship. You can just come as free as you want to be. You can come over here and do whatever you was doing before. Then I thought about the guy that went undercover that saved, 50-some people, minors. The work he put in to expose this hotel resort where there's $100,000 a year membership to be able to go and visit. What they call it a triple X trafficking Ponzi. It's a pyramid. You can buy up. You get a certain amount of, I guess, hell, you get a certain amount of nights and a certain amount of minors. This is what these folk, they got this shit. I'm like, what? So you just done let all that free because you don't want to be exposed. You already know you're a failure. But I heard your niece say you can't stand to be a failure or for somebody to say you failing, because that's what your daddy used to do and make you feel all the time. And although you push that on your brother, you are the one who has to have that validation. I said, Lord. So I was a little disturbed today. I was slow moving today. I got to do better because I was about to start getting sick, start getting red. I said, Gary, you better get up, exfoliate, get that dead skin, everything dead, get it off. You are not about to take that, but I need for us to stay woke. Shout out to dear Hugley. He said some things I heard today. Shout out to him because that Harvey 11 TMZ, he was about to get ready to piss me off. Always making excuses, but he one of them. Not necessarily am I saying he play with kids, but he make excuses for people's actions, and that's a problem for me. But let's listen, because it sounds like some of Trump's people, we found out late in the midnight hour that they did a special vote because they voted not to, what was it, release the file. Or was it the House, the Senate, somebody? While everybody was asleep. So today they was finding out that the party who brought it, who was adamant, oh, what's in it? We need to see it. If there are people in there who have taken advantage, who have, broke the law, they need to be held accountable. Now it's nothing there. I know, I what I saw, and they playing in our face. So they voted way in the midnight hour when people were asleep. That's why we always supposed to have our, what do they say, the lamp or the what is that? Our lights is always supposed to be on. Always supposed to be ready. Because you never know when he come. Since they want to play. I cannot believe this man is playing with us. He had a faith. Oh my God. Okay. Let me come. Y'all give my likes up. I was about to move like y'all done did what y'all was supposed to do. Give my likes up, y'all. I need at least 40 likes. Come on, let's go. He playing with God. He playing with a whole bunch of stuff. He don't want to be exposed. Ain't no telling who else name in there. And all he was talking about was telling on Bill Clinton. Bill who? Is he still alive? I mean, you. After Monica Lewinsky was up under the desk, child, but they say it wasn't no minors. I'm concerned about the minors. I'm concerned about the people who, their cookies was taken by force. The little boy rear ends. My concerns are the ones who, at any point, they did not consent. I ain't trying to regulate nobody's affairs, who cheating on who married. I don't care nothing about that. My concern are the predators. And they know who they are. And Trump know he one of them. Or he may be born again. I don't know. But at some point he was. With his homeboy, his best friend. They were supposed to be best friends for life. Monkey see, monkey do. Come on, y'all, get the likes up. This is crazy. And if I was Jelaine, whatever he do to get me out, cool. I would still release him, because I didn't have to be there. Whatever powers that you had, you could have did that a long time ago, but you didn't. You only did it because you didn't want me to expose you. See? But if we was really cool, you would have pardoned me a long time ago. And when it came up initially, you said, well, what can she what can she do? And you know, what is that, Olivia? What was that show, y'all, when it was like the president, I can't even think of what the lady name was. She was the special agent for the president. Olivia Spoon, Olivia something. Kerry Washington. What was that show, y'all? Where the president, hey, Ashley, Maxwell, Charlene, she always wore the little old trench jacket, and she would do the president's dirty work for him. Somebody need to be taken out there, take them out. What was the name of that show? It was Kerry Washington. Very good show. But she was the special assistant agent to the president. What was her show? Somebody help me out. And I'm saying that because some of the stuff that's going on now is reminding me of that show. Because Epstein, I don't believe that he took his own life. I'm going to tell you that now. Scandal. Hey, Mysterious, what's a scandal? That show is reminding me of what's going on right now for the president. Because right now, I don't believe he took his own life. I don't believe that. And as we was watching last night, where? I don't believe it. Now, I think the other guy was moved out the room. They don't rearrange the furniture. I don't know. No, I think that... Y'all reading what Ivan Kerr was saying? Precious say he's still alive. Even if that's the case. Because I don't know. This man right here, this is the most attention he done got from me. This is the most attention he got from me, baby. But anyway, the girl, Victoria, I don't believe she took her own life either. Then we find out last night that there was another guy who was tied to Jelaine and Epstein. He got, I can't remember how many years he got. And in 2021, he unalived. So everybody unalived themselves that's tied to Epstein except Jelaine. She's sitting there holding the key to everything. They asked her, did she feel like her life was endangered? And she was like, no, like she's in a safe place now. Like now she don't feel like her life is in danger no more. So I'm listening to all of this. They changing the narrative of, oh, it was nothing. Why y'all keep asking about this like everybody else bringing it up like they didn't start this. They didn't start it. But they want to know why everybody talking about it every day. Why we not talking about Texas? I'm trying to start a beef with Russia, with Putin. I'm trying to act like I'm giving him, I mean, y'all not buying it. Let it go. Why are y'all still on it? I mean, by now y'all would have moved on. And typically when I pull these stunts, y'all move when I move, just like that. Why y'all not moving? These people said, I trusted you. Like, he's a convicted felon 33 to 38 times over, and you trusted him. Y'all think he's a good businessman because he filed bankruptcy? Y'all think he a good businessman because he don't pay taxes, he moved numbers around? He is a broke businessman during tax season, and any other time on paper he's a billionaire, trillionaire, or whatever. We know he ain't smart by the way he talk. He just smart enough to hire smart people. But y'all trusted him. Why? Some of these same people that are crying because they trusted him now wasn't even in a income class enough to even benefit from anything. So now your insurance is cut off. All your help is about to be gone. Ain't nobody secure. And when I say nobody, if you ain't up there, and we ain't talking about just no six figures. I mean, And I just don't know what the people was thinking. And I remember listening to some YouTubers. Anyway, y'all get the likes up. I don't even want to talk about how disgusted I am with them. What about your kids? What about your college kids? HBCU. What about that? He done moved MLK out the White House. He said he was too dark. He didn't match the decor. Oh, what I heard him say last night is when they was talking to him about that taking the cookies and putting, his SA. And he was in court and being sued for that. Criminal court. He said they've been aping us women for millions of years. That ain't nothing new. They've been feeling entitled to ape us. They don't have a right to their body. Yes, he is. He said that shit in court, y'all. Do y'all know that? He said millions of years. So what he did wasn't new. And then it's when he started telling people, but I wouldn't have taken it from you. You're not my type. I'm not attracted to you. When did taking people cookies have anything to do with if they cute or not? how attractive they are. It's your that you mental, but it's just a mindset. Like I said, he said millions of years. Men been aping the women. So why am I here? And people voted for him. Yeah, I just can't. I'm just very disgusted. I just am. I'm just disgusted.
Congressman Ro Khanna, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Brian. Always a pleasure.
So, Congressman, you introduced a resolution to compel the release of the Epstein files. The House just had the opportunity to vote on it. Not a single Republican voted in favor of beginning debate and releasing the Epstein files. Can I have your reaction first and foremost to this party, a party that has staked so much of their brand, so much of their identity on releasing the Epstein files, now being the sole impediment to actually getting some exposure here?
So they brought it up and then voted.
It's sad, but the Democratic Party now has clearly become the party that wants to release these files. We are the party that says we can't be protecting rich and powerful men who have abused, assaulted, and abandoned young girls. We are.
So this is why I was adamant about Diddy. This is why I said that if he don't go to prison, he gonna do it again. And it's not just Diddy, it's whoever. Because see, now I know that they were setting it up for whoever. Because you know, Diddy is in Epstein. Let's be clear. Just like Dirty Diaper Donald could tell on Bill Clinton. And when Diddy's name was brought up, he said, "Oh yeah, he used to like me. I mean, y'all used to be cool. Y'all used to see things eye to eye. You done been to the white party before. Now I don't know how long you stayed, but you was definitely there. You done been some Epstein parties too. That's why I said it's a reason why the feds did not incorporate Star Island in Diddy's lawsuit, criminal suit. Star Island, 1 or 2, was never a part of that criminal racketeering lawsuit, which is a good thing. Because that means that when they do hit him with it, it will not be double jeopardy because it was never incorporated. And I'm saying that right now because I'm thinking about Florida because Mar-a-Lago and some of this trafficking seems, the common denominator seems to be Florida. So the trafficking connection may very well possibly be Florida. And Florida hadn't been hit yet. Okay. So I know something with Florida's coming. But it may have been halted now with Trump and all of this and the Epstein and Ghislaine and, you know, all of that. Mar-a-Lago was the grooming grounds. And Star Island for Diddy is where a lot of the celebrity and the kid action went down. When that girl said she saw minors, she didn't know they were midgets or little people, the little people. That was in Florida. The Arabs, the Prince, you know. That was in Florida. The possible tunnels and shit like all that, you know, that could have been LA. And that could have been Florida. But the little people, that's Florida. That's near Mar-a-Lago and them. That was Palm Beach. Yeah, that was near them folk. That's coming. So when people say, well, I thought they had celebrities, I thought they had kids, I thought it was minors. That's that circle. Y'all feel me? They know exactly what they're doing. Mm-hmm. 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 So now what it feels like, it's the you scratch my back, come on, you know, we gotta put a stop to this because it's a lot. It's a lot. So that's when I was saying the other day, it felt like they had the same gatekeeper. Because they all three kind of got the same, found guilty of the same stuff.
On the side of protecting our children and getting the files out there. The Republicans yesterday night on the Rules Committee, at least Ralph Norman had some courage and voted for the release, but today none of them voted for the release. And I'm going to keep fighting. There's one person I can't name right now, but someone who I'm likely going to team up with today on bipartisan legislation for the release. So this is not something that we're going to drop.
Marjorie Taylor Greene came out yesterday and tweeted, America deserves the truth about Jeffrey Epstein and the rich, powerful elites in his circle. The line is drawn with anybody who abuses children and vulnerable, innocent people. When George Santos is going to prison for 7 years, but Epstein only served 13 months, our justice system is corrupt. She went on to vote against the release of this bill. Can I have your reaction to that?
Attention, Team Kringle. Mona! Dreaming of a bright Christmas? You're gonna love Christmas.
Have your reaction to that?
Well, look, I mean, unfortunately, the way the House works, it's sometimes partisan on these procedural votes. I'm actually hoping with this bipartisan bill that we get Marjorie Taylor Greene and a few others to vote for it, with it. Because my goal here is to actually demand the release of these files. And there are probably 10 to 15 Republicans who, in my view, will stand with every single one of the Democrats to demand these release. And if we do that, then it doesn't become a partisan issue. You know, anything that just because a partisan issue, there the Democrats go again, talking about Donald Trump, loses its effectiveness. The reason this is so powerful is this is a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump, who said, yeah, the system is rotten. It's corrupt. It's been corrupt for the last 4 decades. Rich and powerful people get better justice and are protected, and the ordinary folks are getting shafted. And if we can partner with them, then we take the populist mantle, and that's really what I'm hoping to do.
Why do you think that you will get 10 to 15 Republicans on a different effort to compel the release of these files if there were 0 Republicans who were willing to put their neck on the line and actually vote for this initial effort to begin debate that would ultimately lead to the release of these files?
Well, look, I wish there were more Republicans who voted on with this bill on the procedural issue. But if they were to vote with us, they would basically effectively for this issue hand control to the Democrats. So it's a hard vote for the other party. But I still believe they should have for the sake of getting the files out. That said, we're going to have a clean bill, a bipartisan bill, that there's no sense of handing over control to the minority party. And on that bill, I already have one Republican who's going to be for it. And we're going to work to get other Republicans on it. And then we're going to work for a discharge petition, which means that it would come to the floor of the House if over 218 people sign it. And we know every Democrat's going to sign it. But the point here is that the Democrats need to be on the offense here, saying we're the party to release these files and calling on every Republican to release it. And we've got to get off our high horses. Some people say, oh, this is not statesmanlike and we should be focused on quote unquote bigger issues. Oh, this is a big issue. This is about trust in government. This is about a government that is protecting rich and powerful men instead of young women. This is about whether people believe in our government, and the Democrats should be engaged in this debate and driving this debate.
Right, and beyond that, I mean, this is an issue that really has gripped culture, and Democrats for a long time have caused problems for themselves by ignoring what people are telling them they care about, and people are clearly saying that they care about this stuff. So we ignore this at our own peril, because this is, for Democrats to say, oh, well, this isn't important because it doesn't have to do with healthcare, but it's important for the people that it's important for. And clearly it's an animating feature in the Republican Party and among
it was important for them to start it
there too. And so, I mean, we would be fools to ignore the reality of what Americans are saying that they care about right now. I do want to ask, how quickly do you think that if we're able to use a discharge petition, if we do have those 218 lawmakers sign on to it, how quickly this thing could get to the floor for a vote?
Well, we're trying to craft it in a way that within 7 days we would be able to then solicit the signatures. There's a ripening period. But if we do that, then within a month or two, probably a month, we could get it for a vote. But my point is, this has to be an issue that we're bringing up constantly until those files are released.
Facts.
Not a one and done thing. I mean,
every day.
Let's try the discharge petition. Let's put this as an amendment on must-pass bills. Let's continue to hammer that the president should keep his promise. The attorney general should keep his promise. They said that there's an Epstein.
Every time he talk about a timeline with Putin, people need to say, oh, okay, we're not in war right now. That's their fight. Let them handle that. We got our own issues over here. You said that it wasn't gonna be one, so no wars. Yeah. So every time he try to create something over here, need to shut it down. You should have never got involved in it anyway. Who are you to be talking about peace when you have disharmony over here that you done started? It says, no one who has walked earth is more litigious than Donald Trump. If Trump is not in the files, he would have already sued Elon Musk for saying he is in the files. The absence of Trump's legal team is confirmation that he in there heavy. And I think about when Musk's little boy, his son, was in the White House, in the Oval Office. He was being a little kid. Bible says out of the mouth of babes. He said, you ain't the president. We should have known then that, well, we did know that there was some type of disconnect in what Trump thought was a friendship wasn't a friendship, it was a business ship. Because Elon Musk's son said, you ain't the president. Y'all remember that? Clowned him. Told him the truth. You know me, with God love, he love the truth. That little boy said, you dumb as hell. Yeah. And this statement is absolutely true. The truth. The DOJ would have been on Elon Musk if Trump wasn't all over it. But I'm so shocked for his team. Maga saying, you went too far this time. You went too far this time. The weapons of mass destruction you making behind the scene deals to try to make it seem like you doing skits and shit like your ass is on YouTube. Now we gonna act like we at war. we gonna act like, but, and then I'm gonna be the one to come and save the day. Yeah. You break me off and I'm gonna lower your tariffs, but I'm gonna say it's this. Now he's so mad, he talking about 100% tariff. So now you trying to poke. You trying to start so they would get, we the people will get off of these files. Because I don't care how, every time I hear Harvey Levin say it ain't no list, it is a list. Hell, what I just saw, it's a whole black book. Plus a VHS, what was the video cassette recorders that they say has been converted, upgraded. Let me upgrade. Let's go. My lights ain't went up.
Let's see it. Let's see the evidence.
To that point of keeping this in the zeitgeist right now, what are other avenues that Democrats can employ to try and get some information out? I spoke with Congressman Raskin a couple of days ago, where he's going to lean on Jim Jordan, who's the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, to try and compel some information. I don't know if Jim Jordan, especially given his past with suppressing certain information as it relates to the abuse of young people, is going to be the champion here, is going to be the white knight here when it comes to getting the Epstein files released. But that notwithstanding, I do hope that Congressman Raskin is able to put some pressure on him. But aside from that, what other avenues can we take in the meantime while this discharge petition plays itself out, where we can try and compel the release of these files?
Well, we need to push for this discharge petition as step one, push for a House vote. We need to have supporting Chair Raskin, Ranking Member Raskin's efforts to subpoena Bondi, to subpoena the FBI to see why there was not a release. We need to be going out on podcasts like yours. I was just on Flagrant, Theo Mond, going and making the case
they say this is so scammed.
And why the Democrats now are calling for the release. So it has to be a all hands on deck strategy that really
all hands on deck,
driving home the point that we're the party that's calling for the release.
Donald Trump was asked a short time ago whether the Attorney General told him that his name appeared in the Epstein files. Donald Trump said no, she's just given us a very quick briefing. These files were made up by Comey, Obama, and they were made up by Biden. So what do you make of the fact that it very much seems like Donald Trump is right now beginning to lay the groundwork to be able to discredit the entirety of these files, because clearly he doesn't want them released?
If you are sleeping in a position,
surely not.
You are wrecking your body. And your
what is he gonna do? I can't hold my bowels.
Well, they can't even get their stories right. I mean, some people are saying, well, the files don't exist. We've released everything that there's to release. Now Donald Trump is saying, no, they exist, but they were written by Obama and Clinton and Comey. Well, even if that's true, that's his theory, to just release them. Let the public decide. Release what is there. You can then spin it whatever way you want, but the key point is to release them. And I think that if we continue this drumbeat, he's going to have to release the files that are there.
Do you have any concern that in the event he did opt to release them, that they might alter them in some kind of way so that they would be less incriminating to potential members of this administration?
Sure. I mean, I think there's always the concern about, are they going to alter them? There's a concern about the video that was released by Epstein, and that was altered. But, we live in such a sophisticated age of social media and independent verification that I think it would be a very dangerous game to play. But right now, we should just be pushing for a full, transparent release. If they start to release things that are fishy or suspicious, then we should call them out on that.
And finally, let's finish off with this. You'd mentioned that you...
I agree, call them out.
Podcast, you went on Flagrant, you went and spoke with Theo Von. While you're talking about this issue in particular, what seems to be the most resonant aspect of all of this. Like if you can give a left-leaning audience some idea of what is most potent in terms of speaking about this, so that we can be better at persuading folks in the center and on the right, what would that be?
Well, you're very good, Brian. It's hard for me to give you advice, but the basic point is that the system is rigged, that so many people are having a hard time just paying rent, getting a house, supporting their families.
Facts.
And they then see the rich and powerful being coddled by government, being protected, having a different system of justice. And these same rich and powerful people have taken so much of the wealth out of our society and left working class people shafted. And they resent that. Anyone would resent that. And this is about, are we going to protect rich and powerful people, or are we going to stand with ordinary Americans to take their government back? I believe that message of standing up for people, standing up for our children, standing up for our basic values against the interests of the elite is a very powerful populist message and sentiment that resonates across the political divide.
Perfectly put. Well, thank you for your leadership on this and getting out there and making sure that we can, get these Republicans on record with these votes, and for the work that you're doing, especially with getting through to people not within the confines of the liberal bubble that so many people, in this bifurcated media ecosystem end up speaking with. So appreciate that and appreciate your time today.
Well, your voice is so important, Brian. Keep it up. Thank you.
Keep it up. He definitely go hard. Let me see why I saved this for me to see, because I've been trying not to. Let me see why I saved this.
Welcome back to TMV Live. President Trump is having to staunchly defend his attorney general from the continued attacks, I think very notably, continued attacks from his own supporters, from the Maga base, attacks on Pam Bondi for not releasing what they believe to be a list of people in Jeffrey Epstein's world, the Epstein list from the files. And you know that last week the Department of Justice said there is no list and there was no murder of him. He committed suicide in prison. I have some info. And that's it. I have some info on this, but before I tell you what I've got, Donald Trump.
He always gonna make an excuse.
At the White House today. Mr. President, your daughter-in-law said that there should be transparency in the Epstein case. Do you agree with her, sir?
The Attorney General's handled that very well, and I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also, but I think the Attorney General, the credibility is very important, and you want credible evidence for something like that.
Wait, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's...
No.
Just a very quick...
He said no. He said no. Your daughter-in-law. Hold on.
To ask this at the White House today. Mr. President, your daughter-in-law said that there should be transparency in the Epstein case. Do you agree with her, sir?
The Attorney General's handled that very well, and I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also.
What is your daughter-in-law?
Attorney General, the credibility is very important, and you want credible evidence for something like that.
Wait, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
I have spoken with multiple people who have seen parts or all of the file. What I am told is there is no list. It's true, there is no list.
You're lying.
But there are tons of names in these files. Jeffrey Epstein, and this is what I'm told from people who have had access to this, that Jeffrey Epstein was a braggadocious guy who loved, dropping names, and and two people.
Is your name in the list?
It's almost like he was trying to blackmail them, that he would just, use their names and...
He on the list. He act like he on the list.
It's not like he strikes me as the kind of guy who would say, look whose phone number I have.
Because y'all making a whole bunch of excuses.
So I'm told Fidel Castro is listed there.
there are tons of people, and almost all of them didn't do anything untoward, at least.
Now I remember.
That Donald Trump's name is in there several times, but there's nothing, I'm told, that's untoward with him either.
You understand that his supporters feel that if you don't say, and I get it from a legal standpoint why you don't want to just put all those names out there, but his supporters, and that's what's weird about this, it's almost like Dr. Frankenstein, and now the monster has come back.
That's because they're saying that they voted on him, for him, based off of what he said he was going to do. So that's why his people are saying, now, dog, we normally rock with you when you play these little silly ass games and this bait and switch, but not this time. Not this time. You are already a convicted felon that we try to act like we gonna move right on past it. Ain't no way in the world I would be okay being a convicted felon and I have limitations and okay that he in office, the highest position job, and not have a problem with that. Oh shit, but that's
back on him, like MAGA, he fed into these conspiracy theories and said that he was going to release these files and all that.
Well,
and
he was a
look at it. He making excuses.
Yes, but he certainly fueled that during the campaign, and now it has come back.
Now he don't want to hear it.
Bite him in the ass.
Absolutely.
The monster is coming back.
Okay, so let's get into
so what does he do? What should the administration do here? What's the right move? What's the move that's going to
have integrity?
All the cries for this thing. Joining us right now, is there such a move?
Come on, DL.
Hugley. DL, how you doing, man?
Yeah, shout out to DL Hugley. Shout out to DL Hugley. But I need for y'all to get my likes up. I need 40 likes. So I don't know how many y'all got them other accounts with them, or y'all be coming in trolling or whatever, but I need for y'all to tap on into y'all other accounts and double tap your phone screen, or hit the thumbs up, or, do whatever you need to do. But come on, and DL Hugley, I need for you to come on, boo-boo. That's why I got your name in my title. Yeah. Miss me with all them excuses, all that green light, gas light, all of that. Own your shit. Own it. Y'all get the likes up. Come on. The quicker you get them up, the quicker I move. Cash App, Super Chat, Super Sticker. Help me reach my goal. Do something. There's a gift box down there. Do something. Yeah. Yeah, y'all play. I'm sick of y'all folk playing in folk face. Yeah. Yeah. Get the likes up, y'all. Hop down and don't come back. Don't wait till I start back up and then try to come on back up in here. I wish it would tell us who hit the like button and who didn't, and call y'all out.
Man, you know what's so interesting? Even the stuff that we know did happen or was alleged to have happened is disturbing. His affinity and his relationship with a known pedophile is troublesome. The fact that a 14-year-old girl accused him and Epstein of doing something inappropriate with her. So even the stuff
how old was she?
That he's openly said, the stuff is on the record.
How old was she?
So even the stuff we know, the stuff that he's openly said, the stuff is on the did happen or was alleged to have happened is disturbing. His affinity and his relationship with a known pedophile is troublesome. The fact that a 14-year-old girl accused him and Epstein of doing something inappropriate with her. So even the stuff we know, the stuff that he's openly said, the stuff that's on the record, should have been disqualifying to me. So it shouldn't even, and there's no doubt that if he believed that it was something that was in there would hurt his political enemies. You know, first off, Pam Bondi's not calling the shots. You know that. He's going to do it.
Yeah, well, right. But Deal, I got to tell you, and again, no dog in the fight.
You're a liar.
There are two people in particular who are not even associated, and
they associated indirectly.
They say that, yeah, Trump's name is mentioned, but there is nothing untoward.
How do they know his name is mentioned? How do they know his name is mentioned? What do they have? Because his former attorney says there is a list. There is videos. There are documentations, a black book. His former attorney said that you are a lie. And just because whoever you talking to, Harvey, may not have access to it, don't mean that it don't exist. He said, his people said that it was. Why all of a sudden now it's not? And why do y'all not want us to let her cop a plea? Yeah, y'all made arrangements with Diddy. Oh, y'all are making arrangements with her. But the arrangements that y'all are making is for her to keep her mouth shut. Okay.
Back to Trump and many, many other names, people you know, people you've heard of, and it's the same deal. So I'm trying to figure out what's the motivation here.
Okay, Michael Wolff says that he's seen the pictures with Trump in them. Michael Wolff says that, right? So you have all these people on the periphery. But the truth of the matter is, does this seem like the kind of thing he wouldn't do? Even the things he said have been disturbing. His like for young girls, he said these things. So let's be clear: does Donald Trump seem like the kind of man who wouldn't do it?
I'm just telling you.
Honest, anybody who's been honest would say that that's not true.
One of the people I can tell you is not a Trump supporter, and I'm
that
getting
don't
this
matter.
Consistently. Yeah, his name's mentioned, but so are a million others.
Listen, you playing in our face. Just because he may not be a Trump supporter, somebody else that name is on the list, he may be a supporter of them. Don't play in our face. Harvey, the way that you are going about it and defending one that makes us know there is a list, and it ain't just about him, it's about your people that you are being protective of. Your party of people. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. We don't care who on there. We know it's going to be some people that we are going to be shocked about. Shock us. Shock us. Have some integrity instead of choosing a side. Again, I'm going to say, what if it was your mama, your sister, your daughter, your niece, your grandkids? Them kids, with some of them was as young as 11 years old. See, people don't have empathy or sympathy until it touches them. So back up, Harvey, because you're making me think you on the list. Give a damn about somebody not being a Trump supporter. It's about the other people.
Anybody who's being honest would say that that's not true.
One of the people I can tell you is not a Trump supporter, and I'm getting this consistently. Yeah, his name's mentioned, but so are a million others, and it's mentioned a few times, but there's nothing untoward.
You know what's so disturbing about this for me? President Obama was accused of not having real birth certificate. He had to show it.
He had to show it.
Conspiracy theory that
He had to show it. Thank you, Light Mocha. I don't care who is on the list. We deserve to know. Release it, Trumpstein. Release the Trumpstein file. Shout out to Light Mocha. Y'all hit the like button on the big blue sticker. Thank you. Thank you for being the first to help me reach my goal. I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate it. And I like the name Trumpstein because Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein, Comstein. He need to be a Comstein. All of y'all perverts with these steens. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. What was he saying? Thank you.
Is like for young girls. He said these things. So let's be clear. Does Donald Trump seem like the kind of man who wouldn't do it? I'm just telling you. Honest, anybody who's being honest would say that that's not true.
One of the people I can tell you is not a Trump supporter, and I'm getting this consistently. Yeah, his name's mentioned, but so are a million others, and it's mentioned a few times, but there's nothing untoward.
You know, so disturbing about this for me, President Obama was accused of not having real birth certificate. He had to show it.
He had to show it.
Conspiracy theory that Donald Trump.
He had to show it. The other thing that's very interesting is
Harvey didn't have nothing to say about that, y'all, did he? He had
real birth certificate. He had to show it.
He had nothing to say. Watch his face.
Having real birth certificate. He had to show it.
That was the first conspiracy theory that Donald Trump.
He had to show it. The other thing
you see his face?
Interesting is when Barack Obama was in close proximity to Jeremiah Wright, he had to come out and disavow it. So the standard needs to be clear. Even being in proximity to somebody who's that troublesome, to me, is worth looking into.
Absolutely. It's everything. Big Pink is all full circle, baby.
Right? And let's assume, just for argument's sake, 60% of the people, 70% of them didn't do anything wrong. Now their names are attached to it. In fact, this morning, Kevin Spacey was saying, release all of it because he wants his name cleared. His name was mentioned in a civil suit against Jeffrey Epstein.
I was told about a huge, I know this, but there's a huge rock star mentioned.
Okay, we don't get
mentioned.
So all those people,
Fidel Castro,
all those people suddenly get painted with this brush when it could just be that Epstein had their number.
Do you think that is Trump's? Let me just honest question. Do you think that would be Trump's concern? You think that he's the kind of man that's
I would think it should be.
We know him to be.
I would think it should be the Attorney General's concern. I don't know if it's Trump's, but it should be the Attorney General's concern.
But here's the thing. He doesn't run the Attorney General like that. He is clearly running. In other administrations, they've been separated apart. He is clearly in charge. He's calling the shots at the Department of Justice. Do you think that Donald Trump, the man, if he had evidence that would hurt political opponents or somebody he didn't like, he wouldn't use it? He would.
Well, here's the thing. I'll tell you what I think. That there are tons of people, Democrats, Republicans, business people, rock stars, actors, all of whom associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And that there are probably friends and enemies of Donald Trump on that list. And most of them, there's nothing.
Harvey, we don't care. We don't care. My concern with you, sir, why do you care that their names are on the list? If they were just mentioned, they were just mentioned. If they are predator, we need to know that. We don't care that their names are mentioned. But why are you going to bat? And when he brought up that he pressed the issue by Obama, you don't have nothing to say. You don't have nothing to say. But he proved it. So why does it have to just go away for him? and his friends. Why? Y'all, this is why I don't make excuses for predators. This is why I appreciate dear Hugley, because he's standing his ground. He putting it right up in the no, stop moving the goalposts. We don't care. You want to talk about millions of others. Okay, we're going to see millions of names. He threw it out there like that. That's what he said he was going to do. And some people respected that. We finally gonna know the truth. Yeah. So why are you going to bat? Y'all, who gonna be the next one to help AunTeaFee reach her goal? Who got the next super chat, super sticker? Who's next? So the same gatekeeper who was throwing little nuggets out to TMZ for Diddy's trial is the same one who throwing out the two people, one of the angry black men. Yeah. That's one. Was he on the list? See, because right now, Harvey, you're not just protecting Trump. You protecting the list. You protecting some of them rock stars and ooh, okay, I got a blue one, a Big Jim, Big Pink. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Woo. Thank you for the support. I greatly appreciate it. Who next? Who gonna light it up? Light the chat up with a sticker. Talk to me. Send me a message. Say something. Let me know that you appreciate me. Say, keep going, AunTeaFee. Keep saying. Yeah, I'm having a problem with old Harvey. Shout out to D.L. Hugley.
Well, but here's the thing. Here's what, look, I'll tell you what I think. That there are tons of people, Democrats, Republicans, business people, rock stars, actors, all of whom associated with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
And that there are probably friends and enemies of Donald Trump on that list. And most of them, there's nothing untoward.
I think it's really difficult for me to believe. Look, I got a lot of friends. If I knew one was a pedophile, I would never hang out with him. That's just the truth. And I think also
absolutely
the standard now that we have, it used to be a time if you associated with a racist or a rapist, you wouldn't be. Now we live in this alternate universe. Just being in close proximity, just having a dalliance, a relationship with a guy like that is troublesome.
So let me ask you a question. There were a lot of people who knew Diddy was problematic, but they still went to his white parties.
Oh, see how you do? See how now you gonna move the goalposts? Now it's about Diddy. Now you was just defending him, huh? And his parties. But now some of these folk that you cool with on that list, now you gonna throw up Diddy to check a brother, to see if he gonna have the brothers back, right? Huh? Y'all see how they do? See how they do? Yeah, so he gonna check his integrity. Let's see how you feel about Diddy and the people who went to the party. Let's see what he said.
Parties, what's the difference?
I think that one is a white party is adults having it's adults. The other one is where they were specifically doing an illegal act. They were grooming kids. And the other thing that's particularly disturbing is how much Republicans have talked about wanting to protect kids.
Problematic, but they still went to his white parties. What's the difference?
I think that one is a white party is adults having it's adults. The other one is where they were specifically doing an illegal act. They were grooming kids. And the other thing that's particularly disturbing is how much Republicans have talked about wanting to protect kids. The list should be outed just to show that he didn't have anything to do with it and that nobody else had anything to do with it. Y'all brought this list up. It was them that used this as a cudgel. It was them that used this
Absolutely.
as an issue. And now all of a sudden they're voting against people seeing it.
I know what you're saying, DL. And what's interesting here is, and I agree with you that if he had something that would hurt his political enemies, he'd release it. But the problem is, if he wanted to do that, he may also end up, if you release all of it, yeah, you might take out some of your political enemies, but you also are going to take out
your
people
friends
that aren't enemies.
At a standard, we should have a low enough standard. If you are in close proximity.
So it's an integrity thing. So whether your friends, no, so it ain't just about taking out your enemies. So in other words, if I have friends that are predators, I need to protect my friends instead of protecting the victim. Do y'all see why I've been bothered today? He said, I get it. I get it. Yeah, so now it's not just about the enemies. You know, if I expose it all, what about, you know, people who ain't my ops? My friends. Family. Is your friends in your family, are they predators? Are they cookie monsters? Booty busters? Because 9 times out of 10, if you that sick in your head that you don't have no control of yourself, then your kids, they family. Oh Lord, AunTeaFee, They don't have no respective person. If they got an issue, some sicknesses, some generational curses, whatever, your kids, your grandkids, your wife, your daughter, they're not off limits. They not safe. Oh, so you ain't gonna have your family around them. So again, it's an integrity thing, because you don't care nothing about nobody else. You know he's sick. You know he do it, but it's okay. So I don't want it. I don't want to. Whoever on there, let the truth. I don't know. Whoever let the chips fall where they may. Maybe that'll get them some help. Maybe that can stop. Maybe that can save somebody. But I don't know if I want to do that, because they, you know, that's my friend. So you okay with protecting a predator? Are you afraid that they're going to tell some more dirt on you? So now it's a washing machine. We all just need to stay dirty. Everybody just stay dirty. But what about the victims? What about the kids? What about the men? The women? What about everybody that Trump says it's been millions of years folk been aped? So it's the mindset, y'all. It's the mindset. It's the mindset that thought that it would be okay to put somebody in office again, who turned on his own country the first time on his way out, who really turned on the country before we just don't know it. It just ain't been brought out. But you let me tell it, baby, he brought that COV back with him, allegedly. And then tried to act like he ain't never heard of it before, knowing good and dang well his pawpaw expired in one of the first few pandemics. Let's go.
That aren't enemies. You know what I'm saying?
At a standard, we should have.
At a standard. At a standard. DL Hugley say we should have
I
integrity.
agree with you that if he had something that would hurt his political enemies, he'd release it. But the problem is, if he wanted to do that, he may also end up, if you release all of it, yeah, you might take out some of your political enemies, but you also going to take out some people that you probably, that aren't enemies.
Say it.
At a standard, we should have a low enough standard. If you are in close proximity, hanging around with pedophiles, that is problematic, and we need to know about it. Because why all of a sudden is the fire gone out for them to know? Because they think it could damage somebody that they care about or somebody they're interested in. That's it.
That's it.
We should be interested in protecting our children.
Facts.
But we're not.
Facts.
And every week, do you honestly believe, and this is an honest question, he seems like the kind of man that would do it. He seems like that amoral kind of man.
I hear what you're saying. I'm just telling you, I've heard, I haven't seen it, but I've heard from separate people.
Any man that will walk into a teenage beauty pageant,
I get it. I mean,
so stop.
Okay, I said my piece.
Listen, when he did that all I could do is hear AunTeaFee. When he said stop. Y'all, that's me. Stop making it, stop that. You steady trying to come back with stop. It's an integrity thing. Either you have it or you don't. And you making excuses, what I call it, y'all, you got that Diddy speak.
But I've heard from separate people.
Any man that will walk into a teenage beauty pageant,
I get it.
So stop.
Okay, I said my piece.
Stop.
DL. Hey, make sure you can catch the DL Hugley show weekdays, 3 to 7 p.m. DL, always fun talking to you, man.
We'll see you next week.
All right, man, for sure. Peace.
Shout out to DL. Shout out to DL for keeping it real. That's why I be saying it's an integrity thing, y'all. It's an integrity thing. It's a standard. It should be across the board. I don't care who you are. You can be family. You can be friends. If me and who I love ain't safe around you, why am I around you? If they ain't safe, why am I around you? I ain't special. I mean, hell, you can get into whatever in your mind, and then hell, you can be standing over me. You done slips. I mean, ain't nobody safe. This man said we've been aping for 1,000,000 years. Nah, I don't want him around me or nobody I love. Let's go. I need 30 likes. Y'all playing, I'ma shut it down. This battery already low over here. I'ma shut it down. I was with y'all too late last night. What's over here? The White House collapse. Oh yeah, they been fighting today, y'all. Let's see what they done. Hold on.
So today, Trump posted this on social media, accusing me of crimes and saying that I needed to be brought to justice.
Now somebody needs to be brought to justice.
Trump has been threatening prosecution or jailing of me, accused me of various things over the years. But I want to put this in the context of not only his attacks on me, but also his attacks on other perceived political enemies and what it means for the rule of law. So for years, really beginning with my work on the investigation of Donald Trump connected to Russia and then connected to Ukraine, continuing through my leading his first impeachment over his Ukraine misconduct. And for years now, Donald Trump has threatened to investigate me, prosecute me in various different ways, accused me falsely of engaging in a variety of crimes. The most serious
criminal.
of which he has repeated.
Hey, Matt, impeach that
frequently ad
y'all.
nauseum, is accusing me of
Hey, Matt, to the
He should
biggie.
resign from office in disgrace. And frankly, they should look at him for treason.
of saying there is a way that we deal with people
Convicted
who are
felon.
committing treason, or at least there has been in the past, and saying I should be jailed and prosecuted. So he's accused me of treason. He's also accused me of leaking classified information. He's accused me of fraud. It's been basically one thing after another, all baseless, all without merit. A lot of his attacks are on social media, like this attack here, or this one here, or this one here. Some of them are during interviews where he calls for
felons
my
can't
prosecution or my arrest, or
But he
accuses me of various
absolutely.
crimes, like here.
Absolutely,
And I'll tell you what,
and I'm a little upset with the convicted felons who haven't pressed that issue. Y'all need to be protesting for better rights. Hell, he taking everything else away from you and your family and your mom and them. You already know you can't get assistance with housing, you can't get a job, and now whichever baby mama you got the babies with that you've been living with, hell, she finna lose her assistance. So what you gonna do? Where you going? Huh? Where you going? Oh, and oh Lord, no disrespect. All of the not the legitimate, I'm talking about the illegal obtained PPPs that y'all thought he was gonna put money in y'all pocket again. No, he want his money back. AunTeaFee, huh? Remember about 6, 7, 8 months ago, I asked y'all, how did y'all think that they was gonna regain their money? Y'all complaining about eggs, $10 and shit. How did y'all think? They extended the prosecution, being able to prosecute y'all. They want their money back. They have to regain it. Because the people who had legitimate businesses, some of them, majority of them couldn't get it because y'all had created them. So y'all on the cool, thought that y'all was going to get those opportunities again. He said, oh, hell no. I got in trouble for that. So, if they call your number, I ain't got shit to do with that. They want their money back. Some of these increases in cuts and shit, that's part of the budget. Y'all don't realize that? These budget cuts and shit. Hell, some of this came out of our pocket. We was milking y'all anyway. Yeah, we was skimming. We couldn't skim like we was skimming. Hell. I had to let go one of my summer homes and shit. So how did y'all think that? What? Oh, y'all didn't know that? Y'all didn't do no research. Y'all ain't been around long enough to know how that shit works. You don't have that type of wisdom. I don't know how y'all thought that it was just what? It was just gonna magically appear? You didn't think taxes was gonna increase? So nothing? Folk losing their jobs, government jobs. Because the United States is broke. So what did y'all expect? So them businesses that y'all tried to act like that y'all was starting up to really justify having the PPP loan, not that you already had a business that you couldn't afford to pay your employees, but at least you had some employees to, fudge the numbers. But a lot of y'all didn't even have a damn job. Hell, a lot of y'all was getting food stamps and government assistance. So how can you be needing assistance over here, but had money enough to have a business with employees? So which one is it? I know. Trump does it all the time. When he on his taxes, he said he had a loss. I know. And then on when he want to borrow money, he got hundreds and trillions and millions and gazillions of dollars. But you ain't Trump. And when they come to get your ass, they gonna say, you said right here that you had X amount of kids, no income, baby daddies wasn't paying. So when did you start a business? Did you have a business when you got this assistance and you didn't put that business right here? You didn't fill that box out right here? I need that back. Plus some. Plus I need some years. And right now, since we overcrowded, Trump is giving us permission to send your ass to foreign land. Concentration camps and shit. They can't do that. They can't do that because you're a U.S. citizen. Oh, I need to do that color purple ad. I nearby rot. I play too much. You better sit at that table. I never thought being a U.S. citizen that they would send us over to someplace I'd never been before in all my life. All my life I had to fight. I had to fight these foreigners. I ain't know where I was. I ain't never left the U.S. They had me in a whole nother country. I was like, Lord, what's going on? Oh, Lord, I'm sorry. Please forgive me for lying. Sitting there rocking. Nearby rot. Wherever they gonna send some of y'all asses. And then they gonna say, well, you can't steal from the government. And then in my mind, AunTeaFee gonna say, folk, we still falling for the banana in the tailpipe. Still falling for, they know how to bait our asses, don't they? They sure know how to bait our asses, don't they? You wanna be my maid? You wanna be my maid? Hell no. What you say? They're gonna say, you wanna give us our money back? Hell no. What you say? Hell no. And them laws gonna come bust you upside your head and haul y'all asses off. But let's keep going. Yes, the color purple. How I do, Sylvia? How did I do? I'm over here rocking. I'm over here rocking, baby. Let's go.
He should be forced to resign from Congress. Adam Schiff, he's a lowlife. He should be forced to resign.
That's right. He's
said the convicted felon
of leaking classified information. He's accused me of fraud. It's been basically one thing after another, all baseless, all without merit. A lot of his attacks are on social media, like this attack here, or this one here, or this one here. Some of them are during interviews where he calls for my prosecution or my arrest or accuses me of various crimes, like here.
And I'll tell you what, he should be forced to resign from Congress. Adam Schiff, he's a lowlife. He should be forced to resign.
That's right. He's attacking me during a joint press conference with another head of state. But it's not just me. Over the years, Donald Trump has been attacking others, and now
Baby, when I tell
that he
you
has
this-
a pliant Justice Department.
Yeah, I mean, every turn I go, this Richard Justin Crockett Hefner, the clown name is Justin Crockett. I mean, he done been all over all of my comments everywhere I go. His name was Justin Crockett Hefner. I believe his mama done, Hugh Hefner is his daddy, and he just now finding out that his mama was one of them bunnies. Cause he want me, I mean, what, baby, go somewhere else. I don't have the answer for you. I am not Ancestry.com. Go on. Shoe fly. Dang. Lord, now you're gonna make me block you for real. Let's go, cause baby. This one, where is the name? So yeah, so now you know, where is it at? Down here. This is the one from last night. 8 hours. He been, baby, I'll tell you, he been, I hurt his feelings. Him really finna be mad when I remove him permanently.
But it's not just me. Over the years, Donald Trump has been attacking others, and now
a hefty dungeon offspring. Gotta be.
With Pam Bondi and other of his criminal defense lawyers
What the hell is wrong with
running
you?
the Justice Department. They are accusing all kinds of political adversaries of various crimes. So they have suggested or referred to the Justice Department James Comey, the former FBI director, and accused him of, I'm not sure exactly what. They've referred John Brennan to the Justice Department, the former director of the CIA. They have gone after Christopher Krebs. You'll remember Chris Krebs.
A lot of movement on the Ghislaine Maxwell front after the
Information Security Agency, and said that the 2020 election was the most secure in history. That was his offense. So they've said that he's under investigation. They've said that Miles Taylor is under investigation.
Y'all get the lights up.
He was security agent,
got something coming.
the former director of the CIA. They have gone after Christopher Krebs. You'll remember Chris Krebs was the one who worked for the Cyber Information Security Agency and said that the 2020 election was the most secure in history. That was his offense. So they've said that he's under investigation. They've said that Miles Taylor is under investigation. He was a chief of staff at the Department of Homeland Security, and the list goes on. And the danger of this, of course, is not that these people will be successfully prosecuted without any evidence, but that they can be put to the difficulty of having to defend themselves in the hope it will distract the public's attention from their malfeasance or make them pay a political cost or a personal cost for standing up to the president. And in the case of the present attack on me, the president has an additional motive, and that is Jeffrey Epstein. Basically, the controversy of the Epstein files has dominated MAGA world, and the president needs a distraction, and I am a convenient distraction. So the president today is accusing me of fraud, and the basis of his accusation is that I own a home in Maryland and I own a home in California. Big surprise. Members of Congress, almost all of them own more than one home or rent more than one home because we're required to be on both coasts. So he is using my ownership of two homes to make a false claim of mortgage fraud. But what really is going on here is this is Donald Trump trying to bring about political retribution, retaliation, trying to distract from his Epstein files problem. And the bigger problem, of course, is that this is a terrible abuse of power. A president threatening prosecution or saying that his opponent should be jailed. This is the kind of stuff you see tin pot dictators do. It is designed to intimidate his political opponents and somehow try to silence them. Well, I have news for Donald Trump. This bogus latest attack, this bogus latest call for me to be prosecuted or to be jailed, is not going to deter me. I'm going to continue to hold Donald Trump accountable for his corruption, for his malfeasance, for the terrible harms he's doing to this country.
Thank you.
You can count on it.
Don't let up. Hold on, y'all. Who got the next have the next super chat, super sticker? Who got the next super chat? Y'all get the likes up. I need 25 likes, come on. Come on, come on. They battling, but now he's battling with his own people. He said they supposed to be his friends. What about your friend? I need the other one. He an old dude. For good time and bad time, I'll be on your side forevermore. They saying, dance with friends. Oh, hold on. Oh, Lord. Well, I don't even know why he messed with Putin. He retaliating. God, dog.
There is a massive attack underway in Ukraine. So far, we understand at least 17 explosions in a matter of minutes. 17 explosions across the city, one of the largest cities in Ukraine tonight. According to officials there, most of the strikes are targeting a civilian area in Kharkiv. The attack coming as stunning new details are emerging about a phone call between President Trump and Zelensky. Now, it is the Financial Times that obtained much of this information, and they are reporting that Trump asked Zelensky on this call, this is what the FT says, Volodymyr, can you hit Moscow? Can you hit St. Petersburg too? The FT says, this is according to multiple people familiar with the call.
Lord.
Sources who tell the FT that Zelensky then responded, absolutely, we can if you give us the weapons. Now, people briefed on the call, which took place one day after Trump spoke to Putin, said that Trump spoke about, quote, making the Russians feel the pain.
Lord.
So with all of this, Trump, of course, was
now
asked about this today. Here's what he's saying publicly.
Should Zelensky target Moscow or deeper into Russia? No, he shouldn't target Moscow.
All right, well, that's what he's saying publicly. Privately, of course, could be a different matter. Sources tell CNN that despite Trump's public comments.
So now they leaking his messages. Now they leaking his messages. He asked them to start a war behind the scene in our face. He's saying no.
Now, people briefed on the call, which took place one day after Trump spoke to Putin. Petersburg too. The FT says, this is according to multiple people familiar with the call, sources who tell the FT that Zelensky
absolutely, like Mocha.
Absolutely, we can if you give us the weapons. Now, people briefed on the call, which took place one day after Trump spoke to Putin, said that Trump spoke about, quote, making the Russians feel the pain. So with all of this, Trump, of course, was asked about this today.
Hey,
here's
Ella.
what he's saying publicly. Here's what he's saying publicly.
Should Zelensky target Moscow or deeper into Russia? No, he shouldn't target Moscow.
All right, well, that's what he's saying publicly. Privately, of course, could be a different matter. Sources tell CNN that despite Trump's public comments, he has not ruled out giving Zelensky new offensive weapons that Ukraine has long requested and previously been denied, like joint air-to-surface standoff missiles. Now, those missiles, perhaps not the range for Moscow or St. Petersburg, but they do go about 230 miles. And what that would do for Ukraine is put possibly 30 Russian additional air bases, 30 at risk. So Russia tonight is responding, and they're responding by going right there, all the way to the jugular, as they have done in other moments of great tension, and that is by threatening nuclear retaliation. Listen to this clip from state television in Russia that was uncovered by the journalist Julia Davis. She closely monitors Russian propaganda. Here's what she found.
Right now, they're considering giving them long-range weapons that can strike Moscow and St. Petersburg. What is Trump doing? He says, it isn't me. We understand that this is a lie. It's America. Therefore, we should clearly understand that we have to conduct a retaliatory strike against America and American forces. Yes, this is nuclear war.
Mincing no words there. This is nuclear war. Straight to that threat. And when it comes to Trump's threat to Putin, that Putin has 50 days to end the war or face massive sanctions. Well, that is being met with a public shrug in Russia. Here's the foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov.
50 days? It used to be 24 hours. It used to be 100 days. We've been through all of this.
And longtime Putin ally, top Russian security official now, Dmitry Medvedev, posted, Trump issued a theatrical ultimatum to the Kremlin. The world shuddered, expecting the consequences. Belligerent Europe was disappointed. Russia didn't care. Well, moments ago, Trump was asked about why he believes Putin will suddenly care and will suddenly change everything in 50 days.
A lot of opinions change very rapidly. Might not be 50 days, might be much sooner than 50 days.
But again, this is all public versus private. Russia can say that it doesn't care, and maybe there's truth in it. But part of the reason there could be some truth in that is because Trump has not followed his words with actions so far. I mean, in January, Trump posted online, if we don't make a deal, and soon, I have no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States. 44 days later, on March 7th, he posts, I'm strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and final settlement agreement on peace is reached.
And what does this have to do?
Time went by. Here's Trump on April 27th.
President Putin, in about 2 weeks.
Of course, nothing happened after any of those prognostications, and nothing happened after that 2-week time period. There was no sanctions, no tariffs, not then, not in January, not in March. But then again, here was Trump in May.
Do you still believe that Putin actually wants to end the war?
I can't tell you that, but I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we're going to find out very soon. We're going to find out whether or not he's tapping us along or not.
Well, of course, that was 6 weeks ago. And now Trump has put out a new deadline of 50 days. And tonight in Kharkiv, the world is getting a small taste of what Putin is capable of. Those explosions that I just talked about rocking the city, 17 of them, the massive ones, that happened in apparently the period, just those of 20 minutes. So gosh, you think about what happens in 20 minutes. Think about how many thousands of people will die in the next 50 days, if 50 days is a real deadline. Kristen Holmes is out front live outside the White House. So Kristen, I lay out that history because it matters in terms of how serious this threat is. What are you learning about Trump's plan and about how he really sees Putin right now?
Yeah, Aaron, I mean, I think the thing to point to is, yes, this has been a long game of President Trump almost seemingly defending Putin at various times, asking these things strung along, and then also giving these kind of arbitrary deadlines of 2 weeks. But one thing that has changed over the last several months has been President Trump's perception of Vladimir Putin and perception of the relationship that he once believed that they had. And we've really been watching that unfold in real time as he has grown increasingly frustrated. And one of the things he was asked today was that he was asked about what he says to Putin behind closed doors on the phone, and he said that Putin says he wants peace, but then never acts on it. This is a change that might actually lead to President Trump doing something, and that's what we're hearing from allies of his, particularly war hawks, people who really have been wanting him to enact these sanctions on Russia, is that his growing frustration might actually lend them to doing something. And one thing to make clear here, these tariffs that he's talking about in 50 days, they aren't tariffs, they aren't going to be on Russia themselves. We do so little trade with Russia, it wouldn't matter. It's on these intermediary countries that do big business with Russia and the United States. So the hope there is that even if this is just a threat, that these other countries are going to be wanting Putin to come to the table to negotiate. But whether or not that works remains to be seen, particularly when you're watching these officials in Russia kind of shrug off Trump's comments.
President Trump today still expressing his reservation and frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Just one day after announcing a new plan to get U.S. weapons to Ukrainian troops using NATO and NATO allies, and warning Putin he has 50 days to make a ceasefire deal or face a second round of punishing tariffs. CNN's chief White House correspondent and anchor, Kaitlan Collins, is live for us at the White House. Kaitlan?
Yeah, Jake, and I should note the president lashed out at a reporter when they asked him why he is giving President Putin another 50 days here as they are seeking to bring this war to an end, or he says that Russia is going to face some heavy sanctions here. The president did not like that question and also said that he believes that the 50-day timeline is actually not that long after all. It's a sentiment that we've heard echoed by Republicans in Congress as well, who have been trying to push their own sanctions bill to the president's desk eventually. But Jake, he did make some news on Russia, and amid some reporting that he had asked President Zelensky during their last phone call if Ukraine would have the ability to be able to hit Moscow or St. Petersburg if they had long-range missiles. The White House did not deny that the president actually brought that up to Zelensky, but said that he was merely asking the question, not saying that it was something that he should be talking about. And then the president himself took questions from reporters on this as he was leaving the White House to go to Pennsylvania earlier, where he said he does not believe and is not considering giving Ukraine long-range missiles, and also said he does not think President Zelensky should try to hit Moscow either. He did, though, Jake, make clear his frustration with President Putin, and as they are in this dynamic and waiting for these next 50 days to play out, and this is what he told us.
Well, we're going to see what happens with President Putin. So far, I've been very disappointed with President Putin. I've solved a lot of wars in the last 3 months, but I haven't gotten this one yet.
That is his frustration, Jake, in terms of not being able to bring this conflict to an end, something that he initially promised to do on day one in office. And I should note, I've been talking to officials here at the White House, and that frustration that you're hearing him air out publicly, as he's kind of been building to for the last several weeks, is a sentiment that he has been reflecting in private for quite some time. Are y'all still able to hear me? Doing so publicly. The question, of course, is how the Russian leader is going to respond, and whether or not that 50-day deadline is going to have to be met, and if the president follows through on it.
Outage just interrupted
Don't wear these
service.
perfumes if you don't like compliments. Everyone has been talking about all of these perfumes.
Are y'all still with me? It says an outage is interrupting service in your area. Expect to restore the service by 11 p.m. Can y'all still hear me? I wonder what had happened to the people. We the people. I'm going to play it anyway because I still think, ooh, what a bump. Did y'all know this? Did y'all know this? y'all know that? That is Ira Kelly and Wallow. Wallow. Gilly the King. Gilly. That's Gilly the King. And Ira Kelly. Did y'all know that? Hold on, let me play the one before this go all the way out, since they saying we got an outage. Hold on, that video looks strange. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Where was I at a while ago? Because now I don't know what's going on. So let's go here. Let me do it over here, because this is out of juice. And now Trump talking about he ain't been told his name on the file. Is it saying I got 20%? Yeah. Oh my God. He is such a liar. Baby, when I say he's a liar, he is a liar.
A lot of movement on the...
Hi, Aviana. Hold on. Let me do this one over here. Here we go.
A lot of movement on the Ghislaine Maxwell front after the bombshell news from the DOJ, FBI regarding no Epstein client list and all this talk about whether her sex trafficking conviction should be thrown out. A, it's being reported that she would be willing to testify to Congress. What? And B, the Department of Justice has just responded in a very big way to her bid to get her conviction tossed out. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, this is a Law and Crime legal alert. If you receive Deborah Provera, a lot of movement on the Ghislaine Maxwell front after the bombshell news from the DOJ, FBI regarding Epstein client list and all this talk about whether her sex trafficking conviction should be thrown out. A, it's being reported that she would be willing to testify to Congress. What? And B, the Department of Justice has just responded in a very big way to her bid to get her conviction tossed out. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
They planning our face, y'all.
Hey everybody, this is a Law and Crime legal alert. If you received Deborah Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be eligible for a lawsuit. That's right, Morgan & Morgan, they're investigating claims that patients weren't properly warned about this risk. It's free to check, just takes a few minutes, and you don't pay unless they win. So scan the QR code on screen, click the link below, or go to forthepeople.com/LCDepot to see if you qualify.
If you guys have ever watched my stream, you've probably noticed my dogs. Reptar, talk to him, buddy.
Y'all, if it starts spinning, let me know, because I'm having an outage.
She was legally protected. Now, how does she argue that? Well, this all comes back to Jeffrey Epstein. So Jeffrey Epstein, of course, was the deceased finance the government argued. And she DOJ and the FBI regarding Epstein's death and a lack of a client list would affect her conviction, would it get tossed out? And now she is once again in the headlines as the federal government has officially filed its response to her appeal of her criminal conviction. So I'm going to lay all this out. We're going to talk about it. And we're talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, right? The 63-year-old Jeffrey Epstein.com/LCDepot to see if you qualify.
We just talked about Ghislaine Maxwell on a previous sidebar and whether the bombshell revelation from the DOJ and the FBI regarding Epstein's death and a lack of a client list would affect her conviction. Would it get tossed out? And now she is once again in the headlines as the federal government has officially filed its response to her appeal of her criminal conviction. So I'm going to lay all this out. We're going to talk about it. And we're talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, right? The 63-year-old Jeffrey Epstein, former associate who was convicted in December of 2021 in New York federal court of conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, conspiracy to transport minors to participate in illegal sex acts, transporting a minor to participate in illegal sex acts, and sex trafficking conspiracy and sex trafficking of a minor, as the government argued. And she has been appealing that conviction through the courts and arguing that basically she should never have been prosecuted because her argument is she was legally protected. Now, how does she argue that? Well, this all comes back to Jeffrey Epstein. So Jeffrey Epstein, of course, was the deceased financier and convicted sex offender, the man accused of being one of the most prolific and infamous sex traffickers of all time who died.
That's why it's irritating that Harvey keeps saying it's not a list. Trump has been identified on the list as DOE, Doe, John Doe, 174. So the list has to consist of numbers because if he's 174, there's a 173, there's a 172, there's a 175, there possibly is a 176. So there has to be a list that is numbered. Why else would he be John Doe 174? Yeah, it sure is a list, so stop lying.
In a New York City jail in August of 2019. And also we can't infamous non-prosecution agreement that has come back into question today. That's going to be the focus of our conversation. And this was arranged in Florida for Epstein back in 2007.
How up do the number goes first?
There was a grand jury that ended up indicting Epstein in 2006 on felony solicitation of a prostitute. And that was it. There have long been arguments about this. Why didn't prosecutors pursue more aggressive charges? Why was this the only one? And of course, we know how this went, right? The Palm Beach Police Department chief and lead detective, they were particularly troubled by this state prosecution. So what do? They refer the matter to the FBI, who brings it to the assistant U.S. attorney. So now the feds are involved. And in the end, in 2008, Epstein and prosecutors, they worked out a deal where he pled guilty to state charges of solicitation of prostitution and procurement of minors. He's sentenced to 18 months in prison, only serves 13, spends most of the time in a work release program where he can leave the jail to work at his office and then goes back to jail at night. And he avoids federal charges. He had to register as a sex offender too. This is the whole sweetheart deal. That is until he was federally indicted in New York in 2019, charging him with sex trafficking of minors. Now, unless he worked out another deal, by all accounts, he would have gone to trial. But again, he died in his jail cell. Well, now, Ghislaine Maxwell has been using that to say, hey, I was covered by that deal. My conviction should be overturned. Why? Because as the DOJ explains in their memo from yesterday, which is what we're going to talk about, quote, a later provision, so in the non-prosecution agreement, a later provision stated that if Epstein, quote, successfully fulfills all of the terms and conditions of this agreement, the United States also agrees that it will not institute any criminal charges against any potential co-conspirators of Epstein, including, but not limited to, 4 of Epstein's assistants, none of whom, by the way, is actually Ghislaine Maxwell. It's an interesting argument,
so
right?
He had how many assistants?
And by the way, this is all coming against the back procurement of minors. He's sentenced to 18 months in prison, only serves 13, spends most of the time in a work convicted sex offender.
Okay, here go this Steen. So we got a Weinstein, Epstein, Trumpstein, Diddy Comstein. How long did he get?
accused of being one of the most prolific and infamous sex traffickers of all time, who died in a New York City jail in August of 2019. And also, we can't forget about his infamous non-prosecution agreement that has come back into question today. That's going to be the focus of our conversation. And this was arranged in Florida for Epstein back in 2000.
Which would be what Cassie would have, Jane Doe. And I don't know if KK was offered it, non-prosecuting co-conspirator, cooperating witness.
2007 between him and federal prosecutors. There was a grand jury that ended up indicting Epstein in 2006 on felony solicitation of a prostitute. And that was it. There have long been arguments about this. Why didn't prosecutors pursue more aggressive charges? Why was this the only one? And of course, we know how this went, right? The Palm Beach Police Department chief and lead detective, they were particularly troubled by this state prosecution. So what do? They refer the matter to the FBI, who brings it to the assistant U.S. attorney. So now the feds are involved. And in the end, in 2008, Epstein and prosecutors, they worked out a deal where he pled guilty to state charges of solicitation of prostitution and procurement of minors. He's sentenced to 18 months in prison, only serves 13, spends most of the time in a work release program where he can leave the jail to work at his office and then goes back to jail at night. And he avoids federal charges. He had to register as a sex offender too. This is the whole sweetheart deal. That is until he was federally indicted in New York in 2019, charging him with sex trafficking of minors. Now, unless he worked out another deal.
Okay, then I try to tell y'all. So, since everything else has been lining up accordingly with Diddy and Epstein, another federal case is coming. It's coming from Miami. It's coming from Florida. Y'all better stay woke. He said that was until.
Why didn't prosecutors pursue more aggressive charges? Why was this the only one? And of course, we know how this went, right? The Palm Beach Police Department chief and lead detective, they were particularly troubled.
Palm Beach, Florida? Where's Palm Beach? Palm Beach, Florida? So Florida came back. Oh, okay, stay woke.
By this state prosecution. So what do? They refer the matter to the FBI, who brings it to the assistant U.S. attorney. So now the feds are involved. And in the end, in 2008, Epstein and prosecutors, they worked out a deal where he pled guilty to state charges of solicitation of prostitution and procurement of minors. He's sentenced to 18 months in prison, only serves 13, spends most of the time in a work release program where he can leave the jail to work at his office and then goes back to jail at night. And he avoids federal charges. He had to register as a sex offender too. This is the whole sweetheart deal. That is until he was federally indicted in New York in 2019, charging him with sex trafficking of minors. Now, unless he worked out another deal, by all accounts, he would have gone to trial. But again, he died in his jail cell. Well, now, Ghislaine Maxwell has been using that to say, hey, I was covered by that deal. My conviction should be overturned. Why? Because as the DOJ explains in their memo from yesterday, which is what we're going to talk about, quote, a later provision, so in the non-prosecution agreement, a later provision stated that if Epstein, quote, successfully fulfills all of the terms and conditions of this agreement, the United States also agrees that it will not institute any criminal charges against any potential co-conspirators.
He didn't fulfill it, though.
Including, but not limited to, 4 of Epstein's assistants, none of whom, by the way, is actually Ghislaine Maxwell.
He didn't fulfill it.
It's an interesting argument, right? So that's what we're going to discuss. And by the way, this is all coming against the backdrop of a lot of controversy when last week the Department of Justice, the FBI, released a memo stating how after a, quote, exhaustive review of a lot of the evidence in the Epstein case, digital evidence, physical evidence, including the files relating to Epstein, including a large volume of images of Epstein, images and videos of victims who are either minors or appear to be minors, and over, 10,000 downloaded videos and images of illegal child sex abuse use material and other pornography, they concluded there was, quote, no incriminating client list, and there was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals, and they didn't uncover evidence that could, quote, predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Essentially, no one else is going to be arrested or prosecuted at this point. There's no one else a part of this other than Maxwell and Epstein. And they also concluded that he died by his own hand. Okay, this blew up social media. This blew up the political world. There have been accusations of cover-ups. That has been mounting, particularly after the stance of Attorney General Pam Bondi and other Trump officials. You know, the idea that names will come out. Pam Bondi had stated that the list of Jeffrey Epstein clients is sitting on my desk right now. A lot going on with calls that Bondi be removed. There has been a reported falling out between Deputy Director of the FBI Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi over the Epstein files announcement. And our past sidebar was about, does Ghislaine Maxwell have legal grounds to say, hey, my conviction should be overturned based on this announcement? Because as we discussed in the previous sidebar, probably doesn't have a strong legal argument for that. You know, the idea, oh, well, you know, who else did there's nobody else that a part of it. Who did I sex traffic these victims to? Well, the argument was you sex trafficked them to Jeffrey Epstein. That's sufficient. That's what the prosecution argued. But we've been talking about this. There's a lot happening now, and her name is back in the news because of what happened yesterday, okay? The government responded to her appeal. I want to bring in right now Alexis Rosenberg,
another
trial attorney,
cover-up,
federal litigator, to talk more about this. Alexis, thank you so much for coming on. Before we talk about the government's response to her appeal, I got to get your opinion. First off, okay, this is your term to jump in the mix. Is there anything on the face from what the DOJ and the FBI said in their memo last week that directly affects Maxwell's criminal conviction? In other words, well, no one else is getting prosecuted. There's no client list. Why was she convicted? Why was she the only one brought to trial and convicted? Who did she?
I made in the kitchen. You know what I've been making in the kitchen every morning? This is my protein caramel latte. It had
convicted. Who did she sex traffic minors to? Is there anything from that announcement that affects her conviction?
Well, first, Jesse, thank you for having me on. And I'm going to get to that, but I want to jump in about this client list. It screams to me, Clinton, I did not sleep with that woman. Is there an actual list with clients' names on it? Probably not. But how about if we just go through his contact list and start there?
It's a list.
We get a list from that. So getting to your
10%.
question, I definitely think that doesn't necessarily, and you kind of touched on it, affect the conviction, because we can jump into later, I'm sure, why that is from the legality of what's been the question that's certified to the Supreme Court. But you're correct. If she doesn't have to traffic these girls to multiple people. Simply trafficking the girls to Epstein is enough to let that conviction stand. So now we get to the next question about this non-prosecution agreement.
And I don't even think that they have necessarily been mounting the argument that that announcement affects her conviction per se, although I'll talk about that. Actually, taking a section from the DOJ's response to Maxwell's appeal.
Okay, y'all, listen. Let me tell you where I'm at with this. My battery is very, very low. I have been asking for a while for 20 likes. I'm going to tell you now, I am not about to hold this when I cannot get you to hit the like button, send a super chat or super sticker. Okay? So when it shut off, it's going to shut off. Because I'm not going to hold it and I'm not going to stop it from shutting off. Oh, okay, thank you, Perp. I'm talking to the ones who didn't. Now, if you don't want to hit the like button, send a super chat, super sticker, cash app, or do that little gift box that's down at the bottom. Send some jewels. Do something. Okay? Because you're not going to work me hard and not hit the like button. Okay? Okay. I'm just telling you. I'm just saying. Just so you know. So don't be like, what happened?
I thought that this was an interesting example of summarizing what the prosecution's case against Ghislaine Maxwell was. And it was all about Epstein. It was all about trafficking victims to Epstein. No other alleged co-conspirators or clients or accomplices, because it said, again, this is from the DOJ's response, quote, from about 1994 to 2004, petitioner, this is meaning Ghislaine Maxwell, coordinated, facilitated, and contributed to the multimillionaire financier Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse of numerous young women and underage girls. The abuse followed a pattern. Petitioner and Epstein would identify vulnerable girls living under difficult circumstances, isolate them from their friends and families, gaining their trust by giving them gifts and pretending to be their friends, normalize the discussion of sexual topics and sexual touching with the girls, and then transition to sexual abuse, often through the pretext of a girl giving Epstein a massage. Petitioner and Epstein paid victims large amounts of cash to provide Epstein, nobody else, to provide Epstein with sexualized massages, and after a victim had begun giving massages, they would offer her additional money to recruit other girls. Petitioner and Epstein carried on those activities at, among other locations, Epstein's residences in Palm Beach, Florida, and New York City. Now, Alexis, it was reported in the Daily Mail that a reported source to Maxwell told the Daily Mail, despite the rumors, quote, despite the rumors, Ghislaine was never offered any kind of plea deal. She would be more than happy to sit before Congress and tell her story. No one from the government has ever asked her to share what she knows. She remains the only person to be jailed in connection to Epstein, and she would welcome the chance to tell the American public the truth. Interesting timing of that. What do you make of that statement? What's the aim there, if that's true?
Well, I would like to hear what she has to say personally. I think the aim is to show that they're trying to hide something, that they don't want her to talk. They're trying to silence her. And this goes along with the conspiracy that Epstein was actually murdered and he didn't commit suicide. So I think that's it.
Thank you, Perp.
Baby, if you were Sean Diddy Combs, it has begun. Remember when we told you that Diddy wanted to quiet everybody that said he was a POS? And he wanted to quiet everybody because he's going to start on his comeback. Well, guess what? Mark Agnifilio was in the kitchen cooking up something great. And the best they got us was Diddy starts domestic violence and drug programs in prison. It's all about redemption. Mofo, you've been locked up with those rats and roaches for the last 2 years? How long has this man been locked up? At least the last 365 calendar days. You've been locked up with the rats and roaches. You could never get into a program like that. You can never get counseling. You literally have been drop kicking men and women for the last 20 years, okay? I don't care that the feds didn't bring enough proof and didn't call enough witnesses. We all know what this is. Even Diddy admitted he's a violent criminal and those high-priced lawyers. And now you're coming in and telling us that you finally win. You want to make sure Judge Aaron does not throw the book at you. You are finally, checks notes, getting into prison to work on your wayward ways. Diddy, you are the patron saint of wayward SMEX workers. You are a violent, convicted, 2 times federal SMEX crime criminal. Y'all, who is this for?
2 different women.
This is about the people that want to, and hear me out. Judge Aaron is going to give Diddy what he gives him. If he gives him 5 years, Diddy's going to try to appeal. If he gives Diddy probation, I don't know, I think the world might, whatever. But just hear me out on this, because it's something that needs to be said. Diddy's team is doing this, one, to set up an appeal to see if they can get out earlier if Judge Aaron throws the book at him. But there's another thing that's happening that nobody actually wants to talk about. Diddy's team needs to give the public, the people that want to forgive him, they need to give them something to hold on to. If Diddy just goes in and out, right? If he just goes in and out, and there's no rehabilitation, how can you show your face in a Sean John tank top? How can you go to a Diddy reunion tour? How can you stand there when Diddy and Kanye allegedly go on their group thing? It's almost impossible. Now, hear me out on this, though. Who is buying this? Didn't Diddy tell us, and I guess Diddy is a convicted liar, did Diddy not tell us that he had already tried to get counseling when he was beating on Cassie? Didn't he tell us that? Didn't Diddy try to get counseling when he got caught beating on Jane? But the thing is, he tried to get into it, and then he got arrested. And when he got arrested, he was in jail all this time, literally coordinating photo ops with Baby Love, having her like, daddy cake. Wasn't he having all his kids being like, yeah, it's just a legacy? Wasn't he having everybody do all that stuff? But he never once bothered to get help for the issue. Again, let's get into this article. I will say this, and I've said it once and I've said it twice. I do believe that if Diddy is let out with just probation, I don't think it will be, but if he is, I firmly believe he is going to land himself back in jail in the next 5 or 10 years. Either that or he's going to land himself broke from paying somebody off, or somebody's going to literally wind up floating in the Hudson so Diddy can protect himself. Again, I don't care what anyone says. The fact that Diddy knew he was under federal surveillance, the fact that he knew he was facing RICO charges, the fact that he knew one of the charges were the violence, but another kidnapping, sex trafficking, but another was the Mann Act transportation of SMEX workers, and he couldn't help himself. Not only did he transport SMEX workers time and time again, but he also brutally beat up the woman and then forced her to service the sex workers. It does not matter to me that the jury somehow thought that's what happens in these swinging lifestyles, even though the swingers have said, leave us out of it. We don't know what's going on. Swinging lifestyle is nothing like Diddy said. Let's get into this. This is directly from TMZ. TMZ at this point is Diddy's PR people, but get you live it, right? Mark Garagos, what's that? Nat Morris, and this PR web goes very, very deep. Get it how you live it. Diddy is already attempting to rehabilitate himself. He's enrolling in self-improvement programs while in federal lockup to address his drug use and violence against women. Sources close to the situation tell TMZ that Diddy is in the STOP program, a course the feds offer inmates focused on preventing sexual assault, domestic and dating violence. Let me get these straight. Diddy is in a program that's going to prevent SA, DV, and dating violence.
Dating violence.
We're told he's undergoing therapy and is in the Dr. Harvey K. Wexler drug abuse program. You know that boy is going to get high off his own supply as soon as he gets out. He probably when he thought he was getting out on bail, they had the Tucci lining up. The jury basically told him that he can pass drugs to whoever he wants. And that's not distribution. It's not illegal. The jury told him that he can beat up girlfriends, that he can force people to engage in sexual acts. The jury told him it's all okay. So, I mean, I see why he's like, let's get this popping.
Oh, that is.
That is. Using the programs to work hard on bettering himself. And one source called it his path toward redemption. I know there is going to be a bunch of washed up pygmies. Swinging lifestyle is nothing like Diddy said. Let's get into this. This is directly from TMZ. TMZ at this point is these PR people, but get it how you live it, right? Mark Garagos, Nat Morals. Listen, this PR web goes very, very deep. Get it how you live it. Diddy is already attempting to rehabilitate himself. He's enrolling in self-improvement programs while federal lockup to address his drug use and violence against women. Sources close to the situation tell TMZ that Diddy is in the STOP program, a course the feds offer inmates focused on preventing sexual assault, domestic and dating violence. Let me get these straight. Diddy is in a program.
Shout out to Tisa.
That's going to prevent SA, DV, and dating violence. We're told he's undergoing therapy and is in the Dr. Harvey K. Wexler drug abuse program. You know that boy is going to get high off his own supply as soon as he gets out. He probably when he thought he was getting out on bail, they had the Tucci lining up. The jury basically told him that he can pass drugs to whoever he wants. And that's not distribution. It's not illegal. The jury told him that he can beat up girlfriends, that he can force people to engage in sexual acts. The jury told him it's all okay. So, I mean, I see why he's like, let's get this popping. Our sources say Diddy is using the programs to work hard on bettering himself. And one source called it his path toward redemption. I know there is going to be a bunch of washed up pygmies. Because nobody can defend an 8-ish man like a washed up pygmy. Remember I said the patriarchy requires 3 things to even slightly value a woman? You must be young, you must be beautiful, and you must be dumb. If you are young and beautiful but you're not dumb, yeah, you're a bad woman. If you are young but you're not beautiful, like that's the only thing. And the women that bet on that and they are no longer young or beautiful, but they are dumb. But dumbness has it. Like they want you to be dumb.
I need 15 lights
to you, not because it's just dumb, right? So the pygmies that are washed up, I know they are going to literally go crazy over this, the path to redemption. All I need for him to do is literally show up in a black church. Look how many times Kanye West showed his ASS and showed up in a church or Sunday service. Talking about some, every time that I look at you. And we all forgave him. Get out of here. Now they said, of course, cynics might say there's a different motivation. Diddy's federal trial featured lots of tests abuse against Cassie and Jane, as well as his rampant use of drugs like Molly. It's not uncommon. It wasn't just Molly. They had meth in there. They had Tucci. They had the whole season 1 of Breaking Bad. Meth, Molly. Now he's just on the little party drug Molly. It's not uncommon for convicted individuals to enter various programs to show the judge they're serious about rehabilitation ahead of sentencing. As reported, Diddy's sentencing will go down on October 3rd. We're told he actually started the drug treatment before his arrest last year, and it's continued while in bars. Is it considered drug treatment program if you have no more access to drugs? I just thought that was just drying out. I do want to say this. How arrogant.
True that.
That you were sitting in a federal jail for over a year, and you still choose.
It has not been over a year.
You still chosen only when you think.
Has it been over a year?
Your freedom.
I thought it was September.
How much can he check? I hope Judge Aaron laughs in his face. How much can this mofo change in 6 weeks? Diddy felt, here's where we're going. Oh, Diddy felt federal.
Let's be clear. Diddy don't want to be in that room. He want to get out that. He got some threats. He scared people gonna come in on him, and ain't shit he gonna be able to do. Now he know the clocks ain't working. The what is it? The cameras ain't working. The doors don't really lie. Anybody can come in there and get him. Hell, he need to get whatever he could do to get out and get some extra little credit or whatever. Yeah, because he don't want to be up in that room when that door open and bubbling them try to come in there and tag that ass. Okay. What type of classes can I take? Can I be in the kitchen? I don't want to be in the laundry room because I heard you can't hear them when they coming when you're in the laundry room because of that big ass dryer and shit. So now I don't want to do that. I don't want to work now. So let me take some classes. Let me shit. And he listening to the Epstein stuff. Absolutely, Sylvia. Okay. Hi, Coochie. I don't know if I like your name. But hi. You see where he going?
Prosecutors, dealt federal prosecutors a major loss when he was found not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking charges, but the jury nailed him on 2 lesser charges for prostitution. They are also sex crimes. Prosecutors have recommended a 4-year sentence, but it'll be up to Judge Aaron. Wait, prosecutors recommended 4 years for each charge or 4-year, and how would TMZ know that? How would TMZ know how?
Because of his friend.
Let me go see. I don't think they recommended a 4-year sentence. The judge said, show me times where people have been convicted of the Mann Act with no prior criminals. And let's see what the average sentence is. The prosecution went into the case law and they found cases that said, hey, 4 years. Now here's the thing. With the probation sentencing report, that's when they look at who Diddy is, what Diddy does, and if those 4 years are actually if it's appropriate. Because if it's not appropriate, then what are we really doing? Honestly, what are we really doing if it's not appropriate? If it's not appropriate, it could be because in those cases, Diddy is more violent and more unrepentant. So those 4 years can creep up to 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that. Listen, again, Diddy is totally doing this to get a lesser sentence, but like everything that we know now of Diddy's legacy and the people support him, just pathetic, tired, old, done. But you know what? What do y'all think in the comments? Let me know. Meeting in public gossip.
Is this Cassie's new baby? Shout out to Cassie.
Of that, and by the way, they don't, there's no obligation that they have to offer someone a plea either, so that they're not required to do that. And so everybody knows, when you're trafficking minors, you could potentially spend life in prison and not 20 years, and there were various counts on this as well, so that should be kept in mind as well.
Okay, let's talk about what happened yesterday. So the DOJ, they responded yesterday to Maxwell's appeal, asking the Supreme Court to deny Maxwell's appeal. This is again after the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, the lower court, had rejected Maxwell's argument. So they're saying to the Supreme Court, don't pick up this case. And yesterday, by the way, was the deadline for the DOJ to respond. And they're basically saying to the Supreme Court, deny what we call in the law writ of certiorari. Don't even hear this case. Now, before we even get into the DOJ's argument, I am curious, Alexis, what you think about Maxwell's attorneys, because they argued in, well, not their attorneys per se, but basically their position, their argument, because they argued in a prior petition, quote, Despite the existence of a non-prosecution agreement promising in plain language that the United States would not prosecute any co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein, the United States in fact prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell as a co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein. And defense attorney David Marcus wrote in the court paperwork, a defendant should be able to rely on a promise that the United States will not prosecute again without being subject to a gotcha in some other jurisdiction that chooses to interpret that plain language promise in some other way. So Alexis, let's start there. Before we go into the DOJ's response, is that a fair argument? Is that a fair defense?
I don't think so. I think here's the problem. The bottom line is that one district cannot bind another district. We also need to understand this was a non-prosecution agreement in federal court. He was ultimately pled. This wasn't a plea agreement to state charges. So, and also you need to understand that you can be charged in federal court and state court for the exact same crime. A lot of people don't realize that. So the argument.
Do y'all need to hear that in the back for the ones that's gonna try to tell me later that
well, as a co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein. And defense attorney David Marcus wrote in the court paperwork, a defendant should be able to rely on a promise that the United States will not prosecute again without being subject to a gotcha in some other jurisdiction that chooses to interpret that plain language promise in some other way. So Alexis, let's start there. Before we go into the DOJ's response, is that a fair argument? Is that a fair defense?
I don't think so. I think here's the problem. The bottom line is that one district cannot bind another district. We also need to understand this was a non-prosecution agreement in federal court. He was ultimately pled. This wasn't a plea agreement to state charges. So, and also you need to understand that you can be charged in federal court and state court for the exact same crime. A lot of people don't realize that. So the argument, I believe, is very strong that this agreement that was made in the Southern District, which is a federal court in Florida, is binding on the Southern District. It is not binding on crimes that they're alleging were committed in the state of New York and brought by a New York federal court. And that is the argument. And I think that's a strong argument, coupled with the fact that these are different crimes. This isn't even the same crime. This is a crime that New York's alleging that these crimes took place in New York.
Yeah, I'm about to shut it down.
New York's alleging that these crimes took place in New York. And that's what he's being prosecuted for, and what the Southern District were for the crimes that allegedly took place in his home in Palm Beach in Florida.
You're echoing a lot of what the DOJ said in response, and I want to get into the specifics of what they said. I will ask you, though, in a recent comment, so Attorney Marcus, so I believe this is right after, or this came out after the DOJ and the FBI's announcement, when I said they didn't, they're not making an argument directly in relation to the DOJ and FBI saying there's no client list. I thought this comment was interesting. Quote, I'd be surprised if President Trump knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. He's the ultimate deal maker, and I'm sure he'd agree that when the United States gives its word, it should keep it. With all the talk about who's being prosecuted and who isn't, it's especially unfair that Ghislaine Maxwell remains in prison based on a promise the government made and broke. Interesting statement, no?
Well, I think many people in New York believe that Donald Trump is the ultimate deal breaker. So, I don't know that that's so interesting that he's making that statement.
Well, let's talk about it. So now let's get into the DOJ's response, where they argue that Maxwell's argument that Epstein's non-prosecution agreement, or NPA, with the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida barred her prosecution by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. They say it is, quote, incorrect. That argument is incorrect. Why? So the DOJ argues that that co-conspirators clause in Epstein's NPA, non-prosecution agreement, was, quote, highly unusual and, quote, appears to have been added with little discussion or consideration by the prosecutors. During a later investigation into the Florida USAO's handling of the Epstein matter, the assistant U.S. attorney who handled the case told the Department of Justice's Office of Professional Responsibility that she did not consider the possibility that Epstein might be trying to protect anyone other than the four named assistants. And other USAO attorneys suggested that the co-conspirators clause was meant to protect named co-conspirators who were also victims of Epstein. So, Alexis, that argument is it's limited. That it doesn't even apply to a Ghislaine Maxwell, that she wasn't even identified.
Well, but I think there's a catch-all that says co-conspirators, so they don't necessarily have to be specifically named. I don't know if that is such a strong argument. Definitely you would throw that into the pleading as part of or the reply as part of the argument. But I don't think that's the strongest argument that we have going on. I think it is that it's just not binding across multiple districts, as well as that we're talking about other crimes. But you know, a bigger thing that, Jesse, we need to look at is, you know, I keep asking, why did New York take so long to bring these charges? Because they could have brought them at the same time. They could have brought them right when this went down back in 2008 or any time in between. I mean, there's a huge gap. We're talking 2020, 19 and 2021. There's a huge gap in time.
Absolutely. When a lot of the allegations stemmed, much before 2019. It wasn't like, hey, we had to wait to 2019 to find criminal conduct. They were ready to go after him for things that happened years earlier, allegedly happened years earlier. So go back to the other arguments. Again, this is something you previewed. They say in their response to Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal, DOJ policy provided at that time and similarly provides today that no district or division shall make any agreement, including any agreement not to prosecute, which purports to bind any other district or division without the express written approval of the United States attorneys in each affected district and or the Assistant Attorney General of the criminal division. Non-prosecution agreements, like plea bargains, are contractual in nature and are therefore interpreted in accordance with general principles of contract law. While the United States could conceivably refer to the entire federal government, as petitioner urges, the entirety and context of the MPA here makes clear that the term is used, as it often is, as one alternative way to refer to the United States Attorney's Office executing the agreement. Among other things, the NPA invoked the authority of R. Alexander Acosta, United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, and listed only officials of that USAO in the signature block, showing that the agreement was with the USAO, not the entire DOJ. While petitioner emphasizes the paragraph stating that Epstein sought to resolve globally his state and federal criminal liability, even as to his federal liability specifically, the agreement by its terms protected him from federal prosecution only in this district. The NPA's co-conspirators clause, which also agrees to forego certain prosecution of co-conspirators, cannot be construed as reflecting some global scope broader than the Florida-based state and federal charges that Epstein resolved for himself. It would be extremely strange if the NPA left Epstein himself open to federal prosecution in another district, as eventually occurred, while protecting his co-conspirators from prosecution anywhere. At the time the NPA was negotiated, DOJ policy barred USAOs from entering into NPAs that bound other districts unless they obtained the approval of those districts or the criminal division. That policy reflects the longstanding general rule that a U.S. attorney's area of responsibility is limited to his district. So, Alexis, this is what you were saying. Do you think it was clear on his face? And this is different from like Cosby, right? Because with Cosby, it's not like Maxwell relied on this language to provide incriminating information about herself to authorities. She can't say, well, I relied on this language, so I was free to do whatever I wanted. It is different. It is a little different. This, you believe, is the stronger argument from the government.
So let's unpack that, because that was a lot, right? So here's the thing. Under contract law, the ambiguity, the vagueness, let's say the vagueness of the contract is going to be to the benefit of the person who didn't draft it. In this case, it would be Epstein. But the situation that we have here is that this agreement was entered into and negotiated. And I could see where there's a possible argument Epstein could say, if he was alive, that, I thought it was for the whole United States, that I couldn't get prosecuted, nor could my co-conspirator. But here's the problem. He had an attorney, and the attorney, we're going to hope,
should have known about this, and the attorney would have discussed that. There may have even been discussions about the fact that it didn't cover the whole United States. They may have even tried, his attorney and or attorneys, to try and get that language or that approval to be put in there that it would be across the United States. But the way this deal went down, I don't think they wanted to go to other districts to get approval, because I think they would have gotten a lot of pushback, and this deal wouldn't have happened, because this went down kind of on this, the secretive end of it, as it appears to be. So, I mean, I think they knew exactly it didn't cover this. The discussion probably was to the fact, oh, we're going to enter this, it's going to go away, and we don't really have to worry about it because we're not hearing any noise from anybody else. It's probably how it went down. Epstein was fully aware that he did not have that. I would assume, because he had good attorneys. I mean, they got this deal, right? This is a sweetheart deal. So, the problem is to make that, for her to make that argument, I think is a very weak argument to be made when anybody that works in this arena knows that to be the case, as well as who signed off on it, as you mentioned. So I don't think that's a very strong argument, on her part.
I agree.
I have been using the GLP-1 injections through hers for 4 months. I have lost 30.
Strong argument, on her part.
I agree. I think that you make a great argument. I think they're making a strong argument about it as well. But they also make one more argument I want to talk about, where they say, this is just not a case for the Supreme Court. Quote, at all events, the case-specific interpretation of a particular NPA is not a matter that warrants this court's review. And that is especially true where district court and court of appeals are in agreement as to what conclusion the record requires. Indeed, this case would be an unsuitable candidate for further review for additional reasons as well. First, unlike the defendants in the cases cited in the petition for certiorari, petitioner was not a party to the relevant agreement. Only Epstein and the Florida USAO were parties to the NPA. Even assuming that a third party could assert rights under such an agreement with the government, but there is no evidence that the parties to the NPA intended for the co-conspirators clause to benefit petitioner. The government was not even aware of petitioner's role in Epstein's scheme at that time. And then they also double down on the prior argument by saying even if the Florida USAO had purported to bind all other USAOs in the NPA, it would have lacked authority to do so. Under DOJ policy at the time the Epstein NPA was entered, a USAO could bind other districts in an NPA only if it obtained the approval of those districts or the criminal division. So this overarching argument, don't even hear the case. Don't even just decide it in our favor, Supreme Court. This is not even a case you need to pick up. You think the Supreme Court's going to agree?
Well, the Supreme Court does get to decide what they want to hear. I don't.
Who could have thought that this little change could help fight off accidental leaks?
You're watching The Legal Breakdown. Glenn, a few days ago, we spoke about the impending effort by Ghislaine Maxwell, who is Jeffrey Epstein's associate, to have the DOJ review her case. Now, yesterday was the last day, the deadline for the DOJ to be able to do this. Can you explain what happened in this effort?
Yeah, Brian. So Jeffrey Epstein's convicted co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, went to trial, was convicted, sentenced to 20 years, filed an appeal. The appellate court affirmed the conviction, rejected her appeal, and then she asked the Supreme Court to take her case up, let her argue that her conviction should be overturned. Interestingly, the Trump administration, the Solicitor General's office, asked the Supreme Court for a couple of extensions because apparently they weren't quite ready to take a position, a little bit curious. Maybe they were just really overworked, but they finally filed their reply to Maxwell's request that the Supreme Court take up her case, and they are now on record as saying the Supreme Court should not review her case. So inferentially, they believe her conviction and her 20-year sentence should stand. So now we have to wait to see what the Supreme Court does. Will they accept the case for review over the Department of Justice's objection, or will they just wash their hands of it, refuse to accept the case, and that will pretty much be the end of the legal proceedings unless Donald Trump's DOJ decides to somehow intervene in her case legally in the future. And this old prosecutor can envision a couple of ways. They would be really unusual, but a couple of ways that DOJ might be able to do that.
No, I want to dig into exactly that, but I have a question that's burning right now that I want to ask first, and then you can go right into that part. But is there any way that some of the information that we're getting from the Trump administration now might have an impact on her ability to litigate this case? And specifically what I'm asking about is, the Justice Department is saying that there's no client list. And so if there's no clients, then what, the argument that you hear even from these Trump supporters, if there are no clients, then how do you get the pimp, so to speak, Ghislaine Maxwell? What has she done? Because the administration refuses to even say that there were any clients available. And so can she come forward and say, hey, this administration is saying that there are no clients here, and so what am I doing here? Is that something that she could put forward as some defense?
Brian, you're beginning to sound like an experienced criminal defense attorney, because in fact, if now the Trump administration, Pam Bondi and her Department of Justice are making claims like not only there's no client list, but I actually heard some account, I don't know if it was from a reliable source or not, that what the Trump administration or Trump surrogates are floating was Obama made this whole thing up. Well, wait a minute. Your Department of Justice took her to trial and convicted her of significant crimes committed in concert with Jeffrey Epstein, and now you're saying it was all a fabrication? If she has an enterprising legal team, and I'm sure she does, she could file a motion based on what's called newly discovered evidence. All of a sudden, the Trump administration is saying this whole thing was some kind of a political inside job, a fabrication, and yet they introduced evidence and a jury convicted her based on what? Evidence you're now claiming is fabricated. Now, Now, mind you, Brian, I am extremely skeptical of anything that tumbles out of, Donald Trump or Pam Bondi's mouth about the Epstein matter, because it all seems to be really just for the court of public opinion at this point. But to answer your question directly, anything that Pam Bondi, for example, represents is or is not evidence in the Epstein matter could absolutely be used by her attorneys to try to get a court to reopen her case and maybe give it another look.
Okay, so now I want to go back to what you were saying before. You had given some options in terms of the ways that the DOJ could intervene that are probably a little bit more unorthodox than what we would normally expect.
Yeah, so here are some of the things that I've been thinking about that the Trump administration could consider. Of course, one is a pardon, a presidential pardon. Let's assume, and all of this is hypothetical, let's assume Maxwell is contemplating talking to a reporter, talking to an investigative journalist about, for example, the Epstein client list or
Shadow and Mark, can y'all hit the like button for me, please?
Searing public interest to people. Donald Trump and his DOJ could swoop in and say, you know what? If you remain skeptical of anything that tumbles out of, Donald Trump or Pam Bondi's mouth about the Epstein matter, because it all seems to be really just for the court of public opinion at this point. But to answer your question directly, anything that Pam Bondi, for example, represents is or is not evidence in the Epstein matter could absolutely be used by her attorneys to try to get a court to reopen her case and maybe give it another look.
Okay, so now I want to go back to what you were saying before. You had given some options in terms of the ways that the DOJ could intervene that are probably a little bit more unorthodox than what we would normally expect.
Yeah, so here are some of the things that I've been thinking about that the Trump administration could consider. Of course, one is a pardon, a presidential pardon. Let's assume, and all of this is hypothetical, let's assume Maxwell is contemplating talking to a reporter, talking to an investigative journalist about, for example, the Epstein client list or other matters that, might be of searing public interest to people. Donald Trump and his DOJ could swoop in and say, you know what? If you remain, quiet, if you don't give media interviews about all this, we'll pardon you. Now, Brian, that would be a pretty unsavory deal to strike, using a pardon to buy somebody's silence because you don't want it to hurt you politically. But presidential pardons have wide berth, according to this Supreme Court, and Donald Trump can wield them in pretty much any way he wants. There are other legal vehicles, like a Rule 35 motion to reduce somebody's sentence in the event that, let's assume that a witness who has been convicted at trial, sentenced, and exhausted all of his or her appeals. After all that, they come forward, they say, you know what? I can give you the shooter on the grassy knoll. I have some really blockbuster evidence about the crimes of others, but I'm sitting here doing a 20-year sentence. So if you want the information I have and I'm willing to testify about it, you're going to have to do something for me. And that could look like a Rule 35 reduction in somebody's sentence, filing a motion to reduce a sentence. So there are ways. I'm not saying that the Trump administration or Pam Bondi would be interested in striking that kind of a deal with Maxwell. But, there are still avenues, even after all appeals are exhausted, there are still avenues where the Department of Justice can insert itself and still have an impact on the sentence somebody is serving.
The reality is that even if the administration is not coming out right now and saying that they've struck up some deal to keep Maxwell quiet, because maybe she does have damaging information, maybe she has information that's damaging to Donald Trump himself or somebody in his administration, and logic would lend itself to that, because why else would Trump, who is in an administration where so many people have staked their brands, staked their reputations on exposing this information, people like Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Alina Habba. So logic would lend itself to this reason that clearly somebody doesn't want this information to come out, because they themselves were the ones that promised all of this explosive information before suddenly they shut up and pretended that they didn't. And so in that scenario where the DOJ did kind of strike up some quiet deal behind the scenes, isn't it true that the reality is we wouldn't even know it because the DOJ doesn't have to release any of this stuff? And so we might be in a situation right now where the Justice Department may have said, okay, Ghislaine Maxwell, your job is to keep quiet until January 21st, 2029, and then you'll be, released from prison. That kind of stuff wouldn't have to be disclosed, would it?
No, it wouldn't. And if we go back to pardons for a minute, there is no legal requirement that a pardon be made public in order for it to be a legitimately delivered pardon. It could be done behind the scenes. It could be done privately. And as you say, Brian, a pardon could become effective the moment a president left office or just before he left office. And we would have no way of knowing about it except when Maxwell walked out of prison.
Right. I think by that point, it would become pretty clear.
It was on a 20-year sentence. I think that would give us a clue that, something was up.
Yeah. Well, I think it's worth asking, too. We've been talking about this, and I almost say this all tongue-in-cheek because I think you and I both agree that this woman did commit horrific crimes. And so the goal here is not to try and run cover for Ghislaine Maxwell. The goal is to try to point out the flaw in the Justice Department and the Trump administration's argument that if they are going to come out and say that the whole saga, the whole Epstein list, the whole file is the result of some fabrication by Barack Obama and Joe Biden, then their own argument begins to tumble. And so they're put between a rock and a hard place where, okay, if they're going to pretend that it's fake, then the prosecutions that are built on that also don't have a leg to stand on, and so those kind of fall beneath the weight of their own fragility. And so, which one is it? Are you going to pretend that there's no legitimate Epstein files, and then now you've got to be the person to litigate this new case against Ghislaine Maxwell, this new update where she says, okay, well, if this is all a fabrication of the Democrats, then why am I in here? And now they're in a whole world of hurt because they have to choose between substantiating what Donald Trump said to save his own ass or to save his donor's ass, whoever he's protecting, or they have to figure out, what to do about Ghislaine Maxwell, whose further confinement relies on them actually telling the truth about all this. So either way, they've kind of backed themselves into a corner here.
Yeah, Brian, anybody who wants to credit this nonsense about, the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing being a political fabrication by, Barack Obama or other nefarious political actors. Jeffrey Epstein was convicted and served a sentence in Florida, albeit in a state case. Jeffrey Epstein was indicted by a federal grand jury and was pending trial in federal court when he, I'm going to use the word, died in that jail cell, right? Yeah. I mean, that dog won't hunt that this thing was some political orchestration. It was all made up. It was fabricated. Of course it wasn't. So it seems to me that Maxwell probably has lots and lots of receipts to provide about what exactly Jeffrey Epstein was doing and who he was doing it with or who he was doing it for. And that's the kind of thing that it sure seems like Pam Bondi and the Trump administration right now are desperate to keep from going public.
All right, Glenn, I have a burning question here, and that is, you had alluded to the fact that Jeffrey Epstein, we'll say, died. There is some concern that Ghislaine Maxwell might also die. And so in the Bureau of Prisons, in this legal world, which is, very opaque for somebody like me, and I'm sure most of the audience who's watching now, but not for you. I mean, you had a long 30-year career as a federal prosecutor. And so with all of this attention on somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell, how do we ensure that she doesn't die in very much the same way that Jeffrey Epstein did?
Brian, I dealt with not only people dying in prison, I dealt with people being murdered in prison and then trying to prove a murder case when your witnesses may very well be other inmates or corrections officers can be a pretty challenging proposition. We have people who commit suicide. I had a defendant who killed himself before he went to trial. So these things happen. But most prison systems have a pretty good surveillance operation where, they are surveilling, they are watching in real time everything that's going on in pretty much every nook and cranny of the confinement facility to guard against this very thing. Unfortunately, people get shanked all the time. Fights break out and people get stabbed, people get bludgeoned. It happens. And ordinarily, the folks who run the correctional facility, the detention facility, want to be on top of those incidents in real time. So, hopefully the same fate does not befall Maxwell that befell Epstein, whatever that fate may be. I know there are different schools of thought about what happened. I tried to closely scrutinize every photograph that was made publicly available, together with autopsy reports that were made publicly available. And I will say, given the 22 of my 30 years as a prosecutor, I was working murder cases in the courts of Washington, D.C. I found a lot of that evidence very curious.
Oh, wow.
All right, well, obviously, a lot to stay on top of here, and this case is moving pretty quickly, so we'll see if we have any update on the legal front as far as Ghislaine Maxwell is concerned, on the political front as far as Donald Trump and his insistence that, in fact, the very file that most of his cabinet ran on is now somehow a fabrication at the hands of Barack Obama and Joe.
He crazy. Oh, wow.
What they're going to do, because this particular Supreme Court has decided to pick up cases that I personally think that they should not have, gotten involved in. So I'm not sure
there's
what
nothing
this
more
particular
powerful
Supreme Court,
than
but generally,
when someone...
if you have consistent opinions between lower courts, those aren't generally things
to what
that the
everyone
Supreme
is talking
Court
about now that
necessarily
it's made
is
its way.
going to pick up to make a decision on. But who the heck knows with the Supreme Court?
Alexis Rosenberg, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you breaking down the finer details of what's happening in the latest with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Thank you for having me.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us.